"Daddy, please don't leave me. Not today. Not like this." Those were the last words Maya Richardson sobbed into her father's chest as he took his final breath in that cold hospital room. But she couldn't believe her eyes when barely 24 hours after her dad's death, 24 hours after she'd buried the only person who'd ever truly loved her, her husband Marcus was standing at a courthouse signing a marriage license to marry his mistress Vanessa, the woman who'd whispered, "Finally," when Maya's father's heart monitor flatlined. Maya stood there, 6 months pregnant with a baby that would never meet its grandfather, clutching her father's worn jacket that still smelled like him, watching through tears as her husband married his mistress, while her dad's grave dirt was still fresh under her fingernails from placing roses on his casket that very morning. But what shattered Maya's heart into pieces so small she could barely breathe wasn't just watching her husband marry his mistress 24 hours after her dad's death. It was the envelope trembling in her hands. The envelope her dying father had pressed into her palm with his last ounce of strength, whispering, "Baby girl, when I'm gone, open this and remember, you are never alone. You are never poor. You are never powerless. I made sure of that." What Marcus didn't know as he kissed his mistress on the lips that should have comforted his grieving pregnant wife. What Vanessa didn't know as she smiled in triumph over the broken woman still wearing funeral black was that Maya's dad, the humble janitor who'd mopped floors at an elementary school for 35 years, who'd worked Christmas shifts so Maya could have presents, who'd eaten ramen for dinner so she could have dance lessons, wasn't just a janitor. He was a secret trillionaire, worth $5.2 billion, who'd sacrificed everything to teach his daughter that character matters more than cash, that love is worth more than luxury, that a good heart is the only treasure that truly counts. And in exactly 2 hours and 47 minutes, when Maya's hands finally stopped shaking enough to open that will and inherited $5 billion, his mistress, Vanessa, would let out a scream so raw, so full of horror and realization that it would echo in that parking garage like a wounded animal. "Oh my God, Marcus, you left a billionaire. You divorced a billionaire for me. What have we done?" But here's the part that'll break your heart and put it back together again. 3 weeks before he died, Maya's dad called his attorney from his hospital bed, his voice weak but his mind sharp, and said, "Harold, I need you to listen carefully. My son-in-law is going to leave my daughter. I can see it in his eyes. He looks at her like she's a burden now that she's pregnant and I'm dying. So I need you to make sure that when he walks away, when he thinks he's escaping poverty for something better, he can never, ever touch what I'm leaving her. Put it in an irrevocable trust. Make it bulletproof. Because when my baby girl discovers who she really is, I want her to know her daddy protected her even from the grave. Listen to me. If you have ever felt abandoned, betrayed, or underestimated, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because Maya's story is about to show you that sometimes the people who leave you do you the biggest favor of your life. Smash that like button if you believe in karma, if you believe good people deserve justice, if you believe that love, real love, is the only thing that lasts forever. And comment below telling me, have you ever lost someone who loved you more than life itself? Tell me about them. Honor them, because this story is for everyone who's ever been protected by someone who saw their worth when nobody else did. But to understand how we got here, to understand why Maya's father knew exactly what Marcus would do, we need to go back 24 hours earlier, to the moment everything fell apart and came together at the same time. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and death. Maya had been sitting in that same plastic chair for 16 hours straight, her hand wrapped around her father's, watching the monitors measure out his last moments in beeps and numbers that kept getting slower, quieter, weaker. James Richardson, or as the world knew him, just another invisible janitor in a sea of working people, lay beneath white sheets that made his dark skin look gray, made him look smaller than he'd ever been in Maya's eyes. He'd always been larger than life to her. The man who taught her to ride a bike on Saturday mornings before his shift started. The man who showed up to every parent-teacher conference in his work uniform, smelling like pine cleaner and effort, sitting in those tiny chairs with such pride it didn't matter what he wore or how tired he looked. The man who told her every single night before bed, "You are brilliant, you are worthy, you are loved beyond measure." And now he was leaving her. The cancer had come fast and vicious, 3 months from diagnosis to this moment, pancreatic, stage 4 by the time they caught it. The doctors had said maybe 6 months with treatment. He'd made it barely 12 weeks. Maya's phone buzzed in her lap. She glanced at the screen through tears. Her husband, Marcus. The text read, "Still at the hospital? My presentation got moved to tomorrow morning. Gonna stay at Dave's tonight to prep. Don't wait up." She stared at the words, something cold settling in her chest. Her father was dying. Right now. This moment. And Marcus was worried about a sales presentation. She didn't respond. She turned the phone face down and squeezed her father's hand tighter. His eyes fluttered open, still sharp, still her daddy's eyes, even as everything else was shutting down. "Maya," he whispered, his voice like paper tearing. "My beautiful girl. I'm here, Daddy. I'm right here. Need to tell you something." He struggled to breathe, the ventilator hissing beside him. "Important. Listen carefully. Save your strength. We can talk when you're better." "No, baby." His grip tightened with surprising force. "No more pretending. This is it, and you need to know everything." Maya's tears fell faster. "Daddy, please." "In my apartment," he continued, each word an effort. "Bedroom closet, old Nike shoebox, false bottom. There's a key. A key. Safety deposit box, First National Bank, box 1247. He coughed, his whole body shaking. "Everything you need is there. Everything I should have told you years ago." "I don't understand." "You will." His eyes found hers, and in them she saw something she'd never seen before. Fear, not of dying, but of leaving her unprepared. "Promise me. Promise you'll go. Promise you won't tell anyone until you understand." "I promise." "Not Marcus." His voice gained sudden strength. "Especially not Marcus." Maya's breath caught. "What? Why? Because I see him, baby. I see how he looks at you now that you're pregnant, now that I'm sick, like you're a burden instead of a blessing." His breathing was getting shallower. "I added something to my will 3 weeks ago. Protection. For you. For my grandbaby." "Daddy, what are you talking about?" But the machines were changing their rhythm. The beeps were spreading further apart. A nurse rushed in, checked the monitors, and her face told Maya everything. "Mr. Richardson," the nurse said gently, "do you want us to—" "No," James whispered. "No machines. Just my daughter." The nurse nodded and quietly left, closing the door behind her. James looked at Maya, and despite everything, he smiled. "You know what the best day of my life was?" Maya shook her head, unable to speak past the sob in her throat. "The day your mama put you in my arms. You were so tiny, so perfect, and I looked at you and I thought, this is it. This is what I was born for. Not money, not power, not all the things my family tried to make me want. Just you. Just loving you." "Mama?" Maya's voice broke. Her mother had died giving birth to her. She'd never known her. She was a teacher, beautiful, kind, everything pure in this world. His eyes were distant now, seeing something Maya couldn't. "My family hated her, said she wasn't good enough, wasn't our class. They gave me a choice, her or the inheritance." "What inheritance?" "I chose her, baby. Every time I chose love. And when she died bringing you into this world, I chose you. I walked away from billions to raise you right, to teach you what actually matters." Maya's head was spinning. "Billions? Daddy, what?" "My real name is James Hartwell III. Each word was getting harder for him. "Hartwell Industrial Holdings, my grandfather's empire. I was supposed to take over, supposed to marry some debutante my mother picked out. But I met your mama at a charity event, and I knew she was my real life. So I left. Changed my name, got a job mopping floors, and I never regretted it. Not once." "You've been rich this whole time?" Maya couldn't process it. Her father, who'd worked double shifts, who'd driven a car held together with duct tape, who'd made her peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day because that's what they could afford. "Not rich, baby. Wealthy. There's a difference. Rich is what you have. Wealthy is what you are." He smiled through the pain. "And you, my darling girl, are the wealthiest person I know. You have character, integrity, a heart so big it scares me sometimes. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to grow up normal, to marry someone who loved you, not your bank account, to know your own strength." His breathing was labored now. "But I never stopped managing it, the money, growing it, protecting it, for you." The monitors were screaming now. Maya wanted to call the nurses, but she couldn't let go of his hand. "The envelope," James gasped. "In the deposit box, it explains everything, the trusts, the protections, and baby—" He pulled her close with his last bit of strength. "Trust the plan. I know it's going to hurt. I know what's coming, but trust the plan." "What's coming?" "Daddy, what do you mean?" But his eyes were closing. "You are never alone. You are never poor. You are never powerless. I made sure of that." "Daddy, no." "I love you, Maya, more than all the money in the world. You are my greatest treasure." And then he was gone. Just like that. The machines flatlined. The sound echoed in Maya's ears like the end of everything. She collapsed onto his chest, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe, clutching his worn workshirt, breathing in the smell of him one last time. Irish spring soap and coffee and love. She didn't hear the door open, didn't hear the nurses come in, didn't hear them gently tell her it was time to let go. All she heard was the silence where her father's voice used to be, and in her pocket, her phone buzzed again. Marcus, "Hey babe, Dave's girlfriend is here too. We're all gonna grab drinks, probably be a late night. You good?" Maya stared at the text through tears, her father's words echoing, "I see how he looks at you, like you're a burden instead of a blessing." She finally saw it too. The rain hammered down on Evergreen Cemetery like the sky itself was grieving. Maya stood at the edge of her father's grave, her black dress soaked through, her hand resting on her swollen belly as the preacher's words blurred into meaningless sound. She couldn't hear him over the roar in her head, the desperate voice screaming that this couldn't be real, that any second now her daddy would walk up behind her and say, "Just kiddin', baby girl, I'm not going anywhere." But the mahogany casket being lowered into the ground said different. The roses she'd placed on top, his favorite yellow ones, were already wilting in the rain, petals washing away into the mud. There were maybe 30 people there, former co-workers from the elementary school, a few neighbors, some distant cousins who'd shown up out of obligation, people Maya barely recognized. Her father had lived quietly, loved deeply, and died leaving a hole in the world that felt too big for Maya to survive. Marcus stood beside her, but he might as well have been on another planet. He held an umbrella over his own head, not hers. He checked his phone every few minutes, his jaw tight with impatience. When the preacher said ashes to ashes, dust to dust, Marcus sighed loud enough for Maya to hear it. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. This man who'd promised to love her in sickness and health, for better or worse, couldn't even pretend to care that she'd just lost everything. After the service, as people filed past offering condolences Maya would never remember, Marcus leaned close and whispered, "I need to head out. Got a thing with some clients." Maya turned to him slowly. "A thing?" "Marcus, we just buried my father." "I know, babe, and I'm sorry, but this deal has been in the works for months. I can't just—" "Your wife just buried her father." Her voice was flat, dead. "And you have a thing." He had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Look, you've got people here. You'll be fine. I'll see you at home later." He kissed her forehead, quick, perfunctory, the way you'd pat a dog, and walked away. Through the rain, toward the parking lot, pulling out his phone before he'd even made it to his car, Maya watched him go, something breaking inside her that she didn't have a name for yet. An elderly woman approached, Mrs. Chen, who'd worked the front desk at her father's school. She pulled Maya into a fierce hug that smelled like lavender and mothballs. "Your daddy was the best man I ever knew," she whispered. "He talked about you every single day. You were his whole world." Maya couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears mixing with rain on her face. "He told me something a few weeks ago," Mrs. Chen continued. "He said, 'Helen, my baby girl is stronger than she knows, and soon she's going to need every bit of that strength.'" I didn't understand what he meant then. But Maya, honey, whatever you're facing, whatever's coming, you've got your daddy's blood in you. That means you've got steel in your spine. The old woman squeezed her hand once and walked away, leaving Maya standing alone in the rain, those words echoing. Whatever's coming. Her father had known. Somehow, he'd known. That night, Maya sat alone in her father's tiny apartment, surrounded by the life he'd built. The threadbare couch he'd owned for 20 years. The TV that only got 3 channels. The kitchen table where he'd helped her with homework every night, where they'd eaten countless dinners together, where he'd taught her that the best conversations happen over simple food and genuine love. She should have been packing his things, sorting through belongings, doing all the practical tasks that come after death. But she couldn't move. She just sat there, wearing his old jacket, breathing in the fading smell of him, trying to understand what he'd meant about the safety deposit box, about protection, about being a Hartwell. Her phone rang. Marcus. "Hey," he said, background noise loud behind him, music, laughter. "Just checking in. You okay?" "Where are you?" "Just grabbed dinner with the team. You know how it is. Had to decompress after the funeral. Heavy day." Heavy day, like he'd been the one lowering his father into the ground. "When are you coming home?" Probably late. We might hit up a bar after this. You should get some rest. You look exhausted." I look exhausted? Her voice cracked. Marcus, I buried my father today. I know, babe, that's why I'm saying you should rest. He sounded irritated now, like she was being unreasonable. Look, I gotta go. Order some food, take a bath. I'll see you tomorrow. He hung up before she could respond. Maya sat there staring at her phone, and that's when she saw it. A notification at the top of the screen. Marcus's Instagram had been tagged in a photo. Her hands shook as she opened it. There he was, at some trendy restaurant she'd never heard of, sitting in a booth, and next to him, pressed close, laughing at something he'd said, was a woman Maya had never seen before. Beautiful, polished, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. The caption read, "Celebrating new beginnings with my favorite people, Olor Marcus Rich, ou Vanessa Chen, Senior Marketing Director at Marcus's company." Maya had heard the name before. Marcus mentioned her sometimes, his boss, the woman he was always having meetings with. Maya clicked on Vanessa's profile. It was public, full of photos of expensive restaurants, luxury vacations, designer clothes, success personified. And there, 3 photos down, was another one. Marcus and Vanessa, his arm around her waist, her hand on his chest, both of them smiling like they had won the lottery, posted 6 weeks ago, while Maya's father was dying, while Maya was spending every night at the hospital, while her world was ending. The caption, "When you know, you know." Maya's vision blurred. She scrolled further, more photos. Marcus and Vanessa at a concert, at a beach, at what looked like a hotel room, though that one was more carefully cropped. The affair had been going on for months, maybe longer, while Maya was pregnant with his child, while her father was dying. While she was drowning in grief and fear and loneliness, Marcus had been building a whole other life with someone else. She ran to the bathroom and vomited, her body rejecting the reality like poison. When she finally stopped shaking, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her face was pale, her pregnant belly pushed against her father's oversized jacket. She looked exactly like what she was, a broken woman who'd lost everything. And in that moment, staring at her own devastated reflection, Maya made a decision. Tomorrow, she would go to the bank. She would open that safety deposit box. She would find out what her father meant about being a Hartwell, about protection, about never being powerless, because right now, she felt like the most powerless person on earth. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "BTW, we need to talk when I get home. Something important." Those words, the ones that never mean anything good. Maya knew what was coming. She could feel it in her bones the way you feel a storm rolling in. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that in exactly 18 hours her entire world would flip upside down in ways she couldn't imagine. The next morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Maya hadn't slept. She'd spent the night on her father's couch, clutching his jacket, staring at the ceiling, waiting for Marcus to come home. He never did. At 6 a.m., her phone buzzed. A text, "Crashed at Dave's, coming by at 9. We need to talk. Important." Maya's hands went to her belly. Her baby, her little girl, the doctor had told her just last week, kicked hard like she could feel her mother's fear. "It's okay, sweet girl," Maya whispered. "We're going to be okay. Your grandpa promised. We just have to trust the plan." But she had no idea what the plan was. At 8:30 a.m., Maya forced herself to shower, to put on clean clothes, to look like a person instead of a ghost. She chose a simple black dress, the same one she'd worn to the funeral yesterday, because everything else felt too cheerful, too alive for how she felt inside. She made coffee she wouldn't drink, sat at the kitchen table, waited. Marcus arrived at 9:15, which meant he'd made her wait on purpose. Power play. She recognized it now, wondered how many other small cruelties she'd missed while loving him. He looked good, rested, like he hadn't just attended his father-in-law's funeral yesterday. He was wearing cologne, expensive stuff he'd never worn around her. For a flash, Maya wondered if he'd been with Vanessa all night. "Hey," he said, not quite meeting her eyes. "How you feeling?" "How do you think I'm feeling, Marcus? I buried my father yesterday." "Right, yeah." He sat down across from her, and she saw it then, the folder in his hand. Manila. Official looking. The kind lawyers use. Her heart started hammering. "Look, there's no easy way to say this." He slid the folder across the table. "I want a divorce." The words hit her like a physical blow. Even though she'd known, even though she'd seen it coming, hearing them out loud made them real in a way that stole her breath. "What?" "I'm not happy, Maya. I haven't been for a long time." His voice was rehearsed, like he'd practiced this speech. "We've grown apart. You've been so focused on your dad's illness, and I need something different. My dad just died yesterday." Her voice didn't sound like her own. "Yesterday, Marcus, and you're asking me for a divorce today? The timing isn't ideal." "Isn't ideal," she laughed, a broken sound. "I'm 6 months pregnant with your baby. My father, the only family I had left, just died. And the timing isn't ideal. I know it's hard, but prolonging this doesn't help anyone." He was using his sales voice now, the one he used to close deals. "I've already talked to a lawyer. It can be simple, clean. You keep the apartment. I'll pay child support. We can both move on with our lives." "Move on?" Maya's hands were shaking. "To what? To who?" She pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, shoved it across the table. "To her?" Marcus's face went carefully blank. "Maya? How long?" Her voice rose. "How long have you been sleeping with your boss while I was watching my father die? It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She was shouting now, something she never did. "Tell me, Marcus, what is it like to cheat on your pregnant wife while her father is dying of cancer? What is it like to attend his funeral and then go out celebrating with your mistress? What is it like? Don't make this ugly." His jaw was tight. "I didn't plan for this to happen. Vanessa and I we connect. On a level you and I never did. She's successful, ambitious, going places. She understands the life I want." Every word was a knife. "And what am I?" Maya's voice broke. "What was I to you? You were my wife. Past tense. You're a good person, Maya. You really are. But you were never going to be enough. Not for the life I want to build." The cruelty of it took her breath away. "I'm pregnant with your child. I know. And I'll support the baby financially. I'm not a monster. But I can't stay in a marriage that makes me miserable just because of biology." He stood up, buttoned his jacket. "Sign the papers. My lawyer will be in touch about the details. I'll come by this weekend to get my stuff." "Marcus, please." She hated the begging in her voice, hated that even now, even after everything. Some part of her wanted him to stay. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and what she saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was pity. "You'll be okay, Maya. You're strong. You'll figure it out." And then he left. Just walked out. Left her sitting there, 6 months pregnant, freshly orphaned, with divorce papers on the table and a future that looked like a black hole. Maya sat in the silence, her father's words echoing. "I see it in his eyes. He looks at you like you're a burden." Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Hi Maya, this is Vanessa. I know this must be hard for you, but Marcus and I are in love. We'd appreciate your discretion and cooperation during this transition. We'd like to move forward with our lives as quickly as possible. Thank you for understanding." The audacity, the sheer, breathtaking audacity. Something shifted in Maya then, something cold and clear and sharp. She picked up her keys, grabbed her father's jacket, and drove to First National Bank. It was time to find out what her father had meant about never being powerless. The bank was old, imposing, all marble floors and cathedral ceilings. Maya walked up to the information desk, her pregnant belly leading the way, and said, "I need to access safety deposit box 1247. The woman's fingers flew over her keyboard. Then she paused, looked up at Maya with new eyes. "One moment, please. I need to get the manager." A man in an expensive suit appeared within minutes. "Miss Richardson, I'm Gerald Whitmore, branch manager. Please follow me." He led her to a private room, used 2 keys to open the box, and then quietly excused himself. Inside was a single large envelope. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. The first thing she saw was a letter in her father's handwriting. But beneath it were documents, so many documents, stock certificates, property deeds, bank statements with numbers that didn't make sense. She read the letter first. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're probably confused, maybe scared, definitely grieving. I'm so sorry I'm not there to explain this in person, to hold you while you process it, to see your face when you realize who you really are. But baby girl, it's time you knew the truth about the Hartwell family, about me, about everything I've been protecting you from and protecting for you all these years." Maya read the whole thing, tears streaming down her face, her mind struggling to process what her father was telling her. He was James Hartwell III, heir to a $3 billion empire. He'd walked away at 23 to marry her mother, the woman his family said wasn't good enough. He'd changed his name, taken a janitor job, built a real life based on love instead of money. But he'd never given up the inheritance. He'd just hidden it, Managed it quietly through lawyers, let it grow, protected it, for her. And 3 weeks before he died, knowing what Marcus would do, he'd restructured everything. Put it all in an irrevocable trust that Marcus could never touch, not even if they were still married. The total estate value, current assessment, $5.2 billion. Maya read that number 5 times, billion, with a B. Her father, her daddy, who'd eaten ramen for dinner so she could have dance lessons, had been worth $5 billion, and he'd left every penny of it to her. There was a final paragraph in the letter that made her sob out loud. I know what Marcus is going to do, baby girl. I've seen it in his eyes for months now. He's going to leave you. He's going to hurt you in ways that will make you question everything. But I need you to understand something. Him leaving is the greatest gift he could give you. Because now you'll know that when he chose to go, he had no idea what he was walking away from. He left you because he thought you were poor, because he thought you were weak, because he thought he could do better. And Maya, my darling daughter, I need you to let him go. Let him marry his mistress. Let him build his little life. And when you're ready, when you've healed, you show him and her and the whole world exactly who Maya Richardson Hartwell really is. Not with cruelty, not with revenge, but by building a life so beautiful, so meaningful, so powerful that they spend the rest of their days choking on regret. That's the Hartwell way. We don't destroy our enemies. We simply become so magnificent they destroy themselves. Trust the plan, baby girl. I love you more than all the billions in the world. Daddy. Maya sat in that room for 2 hours, reading and rereading every document, every letter, every piece of her father's secret life. Then she pulled out her phone and called the law firm whose card was attached to the documents, Hartwell and Associates. A man answered immediately. Miss Richardson, we've been expecting your call. I'm Harold Ashford, your father's attorney, and your cousin, actually. Your father was my Uncle James. I'd very much like to meet with you to explain everything and begin the transition of assets. Would tomorrow work? Tomorrow? Maya's voice was hollow. My husband just asked me for a divorce this morning. I know. Harold's voice was gentle. Your father predicted that would happen. He had me prepare something special for that exact scenario. Maya, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your Uncle James was the best man I ever knew. But I promise you, he's still protecting you. Everything is in place. Everything is going to be okay. Maya ended the call and sat in the silence, her hand on her belly, her mind reeling. Marcus had asked for a divorce because he thought she had nothing. Because he thought Vanessa, with her 6-figure salary and her designer clothes, was a better bet. He had no idea he'd just walked away from $5 billion. And tomorrow, Maya was going to start learning exactly what that meant. But first, she had to sign those divorce papers. She had to let him go. Not because she was weak, but because her father had taught her something Marcus would never understand. True power doesn't announce itself. It waits, it watches, it moves when the time is right. Maya drove home, signed every page Marcus had left her, and placed them in an envelope addressed to his lawyer. Then she opened her laptop and bought a ticket to New York for the next morning. Harold Ashford had offered to send a private jet, but Maya had declined. She wasn't ready for that world yet. She needed one more day of being regular Maya, one more day before everything changed. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. Did you sign? She typed back. Yes, you're free. His response came immediately. Thank you for being reasonable about this. For what it's worth, I hope you find happiness. Maya stared at those words, the casual cruelty of them, the assumption that he was doing her a favor, that she should be grateful. She deleted the message without responding. Then she opened Instagram and looked at Vanessa's profile one more time. The latest post showed her and Marcus at what looked like a jewelry store. The caption, "When you know, you know. Engaged, new beginnings." They'd gotten engaged, the same day he'd asked for a divorce, probably the same day Maya had buried her father. Maya felt something shift inside her, not anger, not even hurt anymore, something colder, something patient, something her father had spent her whole life teaching her even though she hadn't known what the lessons were for. Dignity in the face of cruelty. Grace under pressure, the long game. She commented on the post, "Congratulations. I wish you both all the happiness you deserve." Every word meant exactly what it said. Within an hour, the post had exploded. People who knew Maya, who knew she'd just lost her father and her husband in the same week, were commenting in outrage. Vanessa's comment section became a war zone. Maya turned off her phone and went to bed in her father's apartment, wrapped in his jacket, her hand on her belly. "Your grandpa was a smart man," she whispered to her baby. "He knew exactly what he was doing. We just have to trust the plan." Outside, thunder rumbled. A storm was coming, but Maya Richardson Hartwell was ready for it. The law offices of Hartwell and Associates occupied the entire 47th floor of the Sterling Tower in Manhattan, and when Maya stepped out of the elevator the next morning, everything was glass and chrome and the kind of quiet that money buys. The receptionist looked up and her expression shifted immediately. "Miss Hartwell?" "Richardson," Maya corrected automatically. She was led down a hallway lined with portraits of stern-looking men in suits, Hartwells, her ancestors, and then she saw it at the end of the hall, a portrait of a young man with kind eyes and a smile that wanted to break free. Her father. Young, wealthy, before he'd walked away from all of this. A distinguished man in his 60s stepped out, his face breaking into a warm smile. "Maya, I'm Harold Ashford, your Uncle Harry. Your father was my uncle." He led her into a conference room where two other people waited, a sharp-eyed woman and a younger man with a laptop. "This is Patricia Whitmore, your financial advisor, and David Chen, your accountant. They've been managing your father's holdings for 15 years. Now they work for you." Over the next hours, they walked Maya through everything. She owned controlling shares in 17 major corporations, commercial real estate in 12 states, a stock portfolio worth $1.8 billion, an art collection valued at $400 million, liquid assets totaling $600 million. "Your father restructured everything 3 weeks before he died," Harold said quietly, "the day after Marcus visited him in the hospital." Maya's breath caught. "Marcus visited him? He told me he couldn't get away from work." Harold's expression darkened. He spent 15 minutes complaining about hospital bills, how the pregnancy was bad timing, how he was under pressure at work. He asked if your father had life insurance to offset the burden. Your father heard every word. The next day, he called me and made absolutely certain Marcus could never touch a penny of it. Maya felt tears sliding down her face. He knew. Harold slid a final letter across the table. "Marcus didn't leave because you weren't enough. He left because he wasn't enough. Now rise, not for revenge, but because you are a Hartwell. Build something beautiful, help people, and when Marcus sees what you've become, smile. Because their regret is not your burden. Live well. That's the best revenge of all." Maya wiped her eyes. "I want to help women in crisis, single mothers, women who feel powerless and alone. I want to start immediately." "Your father already established a foundation with a $500 million endowment," Patricia said gently. "It's ready whenever you are." "Then I'm ready. But first, I want to host a dinner for potential partners and board members." Maya pulled up Vanessa's LinkedIn. She's a senior marketing director, successful, well-connected, exactly the kind of person a new foundation would want to meet, wouldn't she? Harold's smile turned knowing. "Along with her new husband, of course." 3 weeks later, elegant invitations arrived at 50 carefully selected addresses. The Richardson Hartwell Foundation cordially invites you to an intimate dinner reception. Friday, October 15th, 7 p.m., the Metropolitan Club. Vanessa showed it to Marcus immediately, her eyes bright. "This could be huge for my career. If I could get on their board." She RSVP'd yes within the hour. The Metropolitan Club was old money elegance, soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, power whispered instead of shouted. Maya arrived early in an emerald green maternity gown, diamond earrings that had belonged to her Hartwell grandmother sparkling at her ears. She was 7 months pregnant now, and she'd never felt more powerful. At 7:15, Marcus and Vanessa walked in. Maya saw them before they saw her, Marcus uncomfortable among genuine wealth, Vanessa confident in her red designer dress scanning the room for important people to impress. Harold stepped to the front. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our founder and director, Miss Maya Richardson Hartwell." Maya stepped forward. Every eye in the room turned to her, including Marcus's, including Vanessa's. She watched the recognition hit them, watched Marcus's face drain of color, watched Vanessa's smile freeze and crack. "Thank you all for coming," Maya said, her voice steady. 3 months ago, I lost my father, a janitor at an elementary school who taught me that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in lives you touch and integrity you carry. What I didn't know was that my father, James Hartwell III, had walked away from his family's fortune 35 years ago to marry the woman he loved. He chose love over money. He raised me to value the same things. Marcus gripped the back of a chair, his knuckles white. When he passed, he left me his entire estate, valued at approximately $5.2 billion, but more than that, he left me a mission to help women who feel powerless and abandoned, because 3 months ago, I was one of those women. Maya's eyes found Marcus directly. I was 6 months pregnant, grieving my father's death, when my husband asked me for a divorce. He told me I would never be enough, that he'd found someone better, someone successful, ambitious, going places. Vanessa was shaking, her hand over her mouth. He divorced me, thinking I had nothing, and I let him go because my father taught me, you can't lose what's truly yours, and you can't keep what was never meant to stay. This foundation is for every woman who's been underestimated, told she's not enough, because sometimes the people who leave you do you the greatest favor of your life. She raised her glass. To new beginnings, to understanding your worth. The room erupted in applause. People rushed to congratulate her, and in the back, Marcus and Vanessa stood frozen, watching the woman they'd pitied become the center of a world they'd never touch. Marcus grabbed Vanessa's arm and pulled her toward the exit. They made it to the parking garage before Vanessa's composure shattered. The scream echoed off concrete walls, raw and full of horror. "Oh my God, Marcus, you left a billionaire. You divorced a billionaire for me? What have we done?" "I didn't know. You didn't know." Vanessa was hysterical. "Her father was a janitor. You said she was poor. You said we were trading up." "She was poor. How was I supposed to know? You left her while she was pregnant. You married me 24 hours after her father died, and she's worth $5 billion. What you lost," Marcus shot back, "you pushed me to leave her. Because you told me she had nothing." Vanessa's voice broke. "I'm the other woman in a story where the wife is one of the richest people in the state. My reputation, my career, everything is destroyed." She looked at her wedding ring and laughed bitterly. "I thought I won, but she let you go. Because you were nothing, and she knew it before we did." Vanessa pulled off her ring and threw it at him. "I can't be married to a man stupid enough to divorce a billionaire. This is over." "Vanessa, wait!" But she was gone, leaving Marcus alone with the echo of her screams and the weight of the biggest mistake of his life. Upstairs, Maya was accepting promises of support, feeling her baby kick strong and healthy. Harold approached with a knowing smile. They left rather quickly. Vanessa was screaming in the parking garage. Maya felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph, just calm certainty. "My father once told me the best revenge is building a life so beautiful your enemies destroy themselves watching it. He'd be very proud of you. I know. I can feel it." 2 months later, Maya gave birth to Naomi James Richardson Hartwell. Marcus was allowed supervised visits because Maya believed her daughter deserved to know her father, even if he'd proven unworthy of being in Maya's life. Vanessa moved to Boston to escape the scandal, declared bankruptcy, took a lower-paying job where no one knew about the parking garage screaming. And Maya built her foundation into something transformative. 200 women helped in the first year, rent paid, hope restored. 5 years later, Naomi started kindergarten at the same school where her grandfather had worked as a janitor. Marcus showed up to drop her off, watching his confident daughter skip into the building. "She's amazing," he said quietly. "Yes," Maya agreed. "She is." He wanted to say he'd changed, that he understood now, that he'd give anything for a second chance. But Maya's eyes were on her daughter, and he realized she wasn't thinking about him at all. She'd won not by destroying him, but by building a life so full, so meaningful, that his presence or absence made no difference. Maya stood in the morning sunlight, her father's words echoing. "You are never alone. You are never poor. You are never powerless." And she knew he'd been right. Not because of the billions, but because he'd raised her to know that true power comes from within. True wealth is measured in love, and the people who leave you are making room for the life you were always meant to live. So if you've ever felt abandoned, betrayed, or told you weren't enough, remember Maya's story. Sometimes the people who walk away are doing you the biggest favor of your life. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? Lagos, New York, London, somewhere else? Drop your location in the comments right now. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that you're stronger than you know, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. Because you are never powerless. You just might not know it yet. Thanks for watching. And remember, the best revenge is living well. Maya Richardson Hartwell couldn't believe her eyes when barely 3 months after she inherited $5 billion and left her ex-husband Marcus's mistress Vanessa screaming, "You left a billionaire?" In that parking garage, Marcus walked into family court with an army of lawyers demanding full custody of their baby daughter Naomi, claiming that a grieving billionaire was mentally unstable and unfit to parent. The same man who'd divorced his pregnant wife 24 hours after her father's death, the same man who'd married his mistress while Maya's hands still smelled like funeral flowers, was now standing in front of a judge, arguing that he deserved to raise the billion-dollar heiress he'd abandoned. But what shattered Maya's heart into pieces she could barely hold together wasn't just Marcus trying to take her baby. It was seeing Vanessa sitting in the courtroom gallery, no longer his wife, after their 6-week marriage imploded, but now his expert witness, ready to testify that Maya was an unfit mother. The mistress who'd whispered, "Finally," when Maya's father died, was now trying to help Marcus steal the granddaughter her daddy never got to meet. What Marcus didn't know as he presented his custody petition, what Vanessa didn't know as she prepared to lie under oath, was that Maya's father had predicted this exact moment. In a sealed letter he had left with his attorney, to be opened only if Marcus ever tried to claim parental rights, her father had written 3 devastating words that would become Maya's weapon: "Show no mercy." And inside that letter was evidence, recordings, proof of things about Marcus that would destroy him in ways he never imagined. So the question isn't just what happened after she inherited $5 billion and left his mistress screaming. It's this: what does a billionaire mother with her father's protection from beyond the grave do when her ex-husband tries to weaponize the court system to steal her child? How does a woman who lost everything find the strength to fight the man who once made her beg him to stay? And what secrets did Maya's father uncover about Marcus in those final weeks before he died? Secrets so dark, so damning, that when the judge heard them, Marcus wouldn't just lose custody, he'd lose everything. Because what Maya did next didn't just leave Marcus and Vanessa screaming. It left the entire city questioning everything they thought they knew about power, justice, and what happens when you underestimate a mother's love. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back to 3 months after the parking garage scream, to the morning Maya opened her father's music box and found the letter that would change everything. Listen, if you missed part 1 of this story, the link is in the description, and you need to watch it first, because what's about to happen will hit 10 times harder when you know how Maya got here. But if you're already caught up, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this part of Maya's story will show you that karma doesn't just come for people who do wrong. It brings receipts. Smash that like button if you believe children deserve to be protected from people who only want them for money. And comment below. Have you ever had to fight for something you thought you'd already won? Tell me, because Maya's about to teach us all what real fighting looks like. Now let's go back to that music box, because what her father left inside would arm her for the battle of her life. The music box sat on Maya's dresser in her Brooklyn brownstone, wrapped in tissue paper that had yellowed slightly with time. It had arrived 3 days ago, Naomi's 3-month birthday, delivered by Harold Ashford with a simple note. Your father left instructions that you were to receive this on your daughter's 3-month milestone. He said you'd know when to open it. Maya had been staring at it for those 3 days, afraid of what it might contain. Another letter. Another reminder of the man she'd lost. Another wave of grief she wasn't sure she could survive while caring for a newborn alone. But that morning, with Naomi sleeping peacefully in her crib and sunlight streaming through the windows of the nursery her father had designed but never got to see, Maya finally opened it. The music box was beautiful. Hand-carved rosewood with inlaid mother-of-pearl, depicting a father holding his daughter under a starry sky. When she lifted the lid, a gentle melody began to play, a lullaby her father used to hum to her when she was small. Inside, nestled in velvet, was a USB drive in a sealed envelope with her father's handwriting. Open only if Marcus tries to take Naomi. Trust me, baby girl, I've got you. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at those words. Her father had known. Even 3 months before he died, even while fighting cancer, even while Marcus was pretending to be a devoted husband, her father had known this would happen. She wanted to open the envelope right then, wanted to see what he'd left her. But something stopped her. Some instinct that said, not yet. Wait until you need it. Wait until the moment is right. She placed the music box in her safe, next to the documents from her inheritance, and tried to push it from her mind. That lasted exactly 2 weeks. Maya was in her home office, Naomi napping in a bassinet beside her desk, when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Maya Richardson? A professional female voice. Yes? This is Jennifer Walsh from the law offices of Brennan & Associates. I'm calling on behalf of my client, Marcus Richardson, regarding a custody matter concerning the minor child Naomi James Richardson Hartwell. The floor dropped out from under Maya's world. Custody matter? Mr. Richardson is filing for full physical and legal custody of his daughter. You'll be served with papers within 48 hours. We'd hope to resolve this amicably. But given your current mental state and the concerns about your fitness as a parent, my client feels he has no choice but to pursue this through the courts. My mental state? Maya's voice was ice. I'm perfectly fine. I'm raising my daughter. What concerns? The concerns outlined in the petition. You'll see them when you're served. We'll be in touch. The lawyer hung up. Maya sat there, phone in her hand, staring at nothing. He was trying to take her baby, the man who'd abandoned her while she was pregnant, the man who'd married his mistress while her father's grave was still fresh. He was trying to take the only family she had left. Naomi stirred in her bassinet, making the small sounds that meant she'd wake soon. Maya looked at her daughter, 3 months old, perfect, innocent, her father's eyes and her grandfather's smile, and felt something crack open inside her chest. Not grief this time, not pain. Rage. Pure, cold, crystalline rage. She picked up her phone and called Harold Ashford. Uncle Harry, I need you to open my father's sealed letter, the one about Marcus and parental rights. There was a pause. He's filing for custody? His lawyer just called. I'll be there in an hour. Maya, your father prepared for this. Everything you need, he left for you. Trust the plan. Those words again. Trust the plan. An hour later, Harold sat in Maya's living room, a thick folder in front of him and an expression on his face that was part sorrow, part satisfaction. Your father knew Marcus would do this, Harold said quietly. About 3 weeks before he died, Marcus came to visit him in the hospital. Do you remember that? He told me he couldn't get away from work. He visited? He did. And your father, sick as he was, recorded the entire conversation. Harold pulled out his laptop and turned it toward Maya. Your father was very careful about this. Everything was done legally. One-party consent recording in a hospital room where Marcus had no expectation of privacy. It would be admissible in court. He pressed play. The video showed her father in his hospital bed, looking frail but alert. Marcus entered, and the change in his demeanor was instant, impatient, uncomfortable, checking his watch. Hey, James, how you feeling? Like I'm dying, Marcus. Because I am. Her father's voice was weak but steady. Right. Yeah, listen, I can't stay long. Got a work thing. But I wanted to talk to you about something important. Go ahead. Marcus shifted, clearly uncomfortable. It's about Maya and the baby. I'm just going to be straight with you. I don't think I can do this. The marriage, the kid, all of it. It's not what I signed up for. Maya's hand went to her mouth. This was 3 weeks before her father died, while she was still pregnant, while Marcus was still pretending everything was fine. You signed up for marriage vows, her father said quietly, in sickness and health, for better or worse. Yeah, well, things change. Maya's different now. She's all focused on you being sick and the pregnancy. She's not the woman I married, and honestly, with you going, I'm looking at being stuck supporting her and a kid on my salary alone. That's not sustainable. Sustainable? Her father's voice carried barely controlled anger. My daughter is having your child, and you're talking about sustainability like she's a business expense. I'm being realistic. And look, I hate to bring this up, but do you have life insurance? Anything that might help offset costs after you're gone? Maya felt sick. He'd asked her dying father for money. I have something better than life insurance, Marcus. I have clarity. I see exactly who you are now, and I want you to know something. My daughter's going to be fine when I'm gone, better than fine. You, on the other hand, are going to spend the rest of your life regretting this conversation. Whatever, man, I'm just being honest. So am I. Get out of my room. The video ended. Harold closed the laptop. That was recording number 1. There are 3 more, all equally damning. Your father also hired a private investigator who documented Marcus's affair with Vanessa, dates, times, hotel receipts, everything. And here's the part Marcus doesn't know. Your father had his attorney send a letter to Marcus 6 weeks ago before Marcus filed for custody. What kind of letter? A letter offering him a one-time payment of $50,000 in exchange for signing away all parental rights to Naomi, permanently and irrevocably. No contact, no custody, no claims to her or her inheritance. Ever. Maya's eyes widened. What did Marcus say? He didn't respond. He threw the letter away. We know because the PI retrieved it from his trash. Your father predicted he'd ignore a small amount like $50,000 because he'd eventually realize Naomi is worth billions, and that by rejecting the offer, Marcus would demonstrate that he has no interest in being a father, only in accessing her inheritance. But he can't access it. The trust is ironclad. He doesn't know that. He thinks that with full custody he could control her assets as her guardian. What he doesn't realize is that your father named an independent trustee, me, who cannot be removed except by court order. Even if Marcus won custody, which he won't, he'd never touch a penny of Naomi's money. Harold pulled out the sealed letter. Your father's instructions were clear. If Marcus filed for custody, I was to give you this and offer you the firm's full resources to fight him. Every attorney, every private investigator, every expert witness we have, pro bono, because your father retained us on a $10 million fee specifically for this purpose. Maya took the letter with shaking hands and opened it. The handwriting was shakier than usual. Her father had been very sick when he wrote this, but the words were clear. My darling Maya, if you're reading this, Marcus has shown his true colors. He's not trying to be a father. He's trying to be a thief. He sees Naomi as a paycheck, as access to wealth he was too stupid to keep when he had it. This is unforgivable. So I want you to listen carefully. Show no mercy. Use every piece of evidence I've left you. Expose him for what he is. Protect my granddaughter with everything you have. I know you're scared. I know you're tired. I know part of you still wants to believe Marcus has some good in him, but baby girl, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is be ruthless with people who threaten your child. Fight him, destroy his case, and when it's over, make sure he never ever has the power to hurt Naomi the way he hurt you. You are not alone in this. You have resources, you have evidence, you have me, even from beyond the grave, and you have something Marcus will never have, the truth. Use it. With all my love and faith in you, Daddy. P.S. Vanessa will try to help him. I've left evidence about her too. Remember, show no mercy. Maya read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face, her father's voice echoing in her head as clearly as if he were standing beside her. Show no mercy. She looked up at Harold. When's the custody hearing? Preliminary hearing is in 2 weeks. That's when Marcus will present his case for why you're unfit. And Vanessa? She's listed as a witness. Apparently, during their brief marriage, she documented things she claims show you in an unstable light. Text messages you sent, social media posts, that kind of thing. All taken out of context, I'm sure, but potentially damaging if not properly challenged. Maya stood, her decision made. Uncle Harry, I want you to do something for me. Anything. I want you to offer Marcus one more chance, one more payment, bigger this time. Let's say $5,000 to walk away permanently. Document his response carefully. Why? We have all the evidence we need to destroy him. Maya smiled, and it was her father's smile, the one that said she knew exactly what she was doing. Because when he rejects $500,000, when he holds out for more, it'll prove he's not interested in Naomi at all. He's interested in her billions, and that, Uncle Harry, is going to destroy him in court more effectively than anything else we could present. Harold's expression shifted to admiration. Your father would be so proud of you right now. He raised me well. Maya looked at the letter in her hands. Now let's show Marcus what happens when you threaten a Hartwell's family. 2 days later, Marcus received a certified letter offering him $500,000 to terminate his parental rights. His response came within 6 hours. Rejected. See you in court. Harold called Maya immediately. He took the bait. Good, Maya said, looking at Naomi sleeping peacefully in her arms. Now let's end this. The family courtroom was smaller than Maya expected, more intimate, which somehow made it worse. Every lie Marcus was about to tell, every accusation Vanessa was about to make, would happen just feet away from her, close enough to see their faces, to smell Marcus's expensive cologne, the one he'd never worn when they were married but started using when he met Vanessa. Maya sat at the plaintiff's table with Harold and 2 other attorneys from Hartwell and Associates. Across the aisle, Marcus sat with his lawyer, Jennifer Walsh, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who looked like she ate opposing counsel for breakfast. Behind them, in the gallery, sat Vanessa, dressed conservatively. Navy blue dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back, trying to look like a concerned family friend, instead of the mistress who'd whispered, "Finally," when Maya's father died. Judge Catherine Morrison entered, a black woman in her 60s with kind eyes but a reputation for suffering no fools. "Be seated. We're here for the preliminary custody hearing in the matter of Richardson vs. Richardson Hartwell. Mr. Richardson is petitioning for full custody of the minor child, Naomi James Richardson Hartwell, currently 3 months old." Marcus's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client is here today because he's deeply concerned about his daughter's welfare. Miss Richardson Hartwell, while financially well off due to a recent inheritance, is emotionally unstable, socially isolated, and potentially suffering from severe postpartum depression that she refuses to acknowledge or treat." Maya felt Harold's hand on her arm, steadying her. "Furthermore," Walsh continued, "Miss Richardson Hartwell has demonstrated erratic behavior, including blocking my client from seeing his daughter, making disparaging remarks about him on social media, and creating a toxic environment that prioritizes her own grief and trauma over the child's needs." "Your Honor," Harold stood smoothly, "I'd like to address these allegations directly, but first I'd like to establish some context about Mr. Richardson's interest in his daughter." "Proceed." "Mr. Richardson divorced Miss Richardson Hartwell when she was 6 months pregnant, exactly 24 hours after her father's funeral. He then married another woman, his former mistress, within 48 hours of the divorce being finalized. That marriage lasted 6 weeks before ending in divorce. During the first 3 months of baby Naomi's life, Mr. Richardson requested supervised visitation exactly twice, each visit lasting less than 30 minutes, and he left both visits early. He has never changed a diaper, never fed his daughter, never attended a pediatrician appointment. Until 2 weeks ago, when he filed this petition, he showed no interest in parenting whatsoever." Judge Morrison's expression shifted slightly. "Is this accurate, Mr. Richardson?" Marcus stood. "Your Honor, I was giving Maya space to grieve and bond with the baby. I didn't want to intrude during a difficult time." "You didn't want to intrude," the judge repeated slowly, "on your own daughter's life?" "I was being respectful of Maya's process." "I see. Ms. Walsh, what evidence do you have of Miss Richardson Hartwell's alleged instability?" Walsh pulled out a folder. "We have documentation from Ms. Vanessa Chen, who briefly lived with Mr. Richardson and observed Miss Richardson Hartwell during custody exchanges. We have text messages showing erratic behavior, social media posts that demonstrate—" "Your Honor," Harold interrupted, "I'd like to impeach Ms. Chen's credibility as a witness before we proceed with her testimony." "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that Ms. Chen is the woman Mr. Richardson committed adultery with during his marriage to Miss Richardson Hartwell, that she has a documented history of hostility toward my client, and that she has a vested financial interest in Mr. Richardson gaining custody." Walsh's face tightened. "Ms. Chen has no financial interest in this case." "Actually, she does." Harold pulled out his own folder. "Ms. Chen filed for bankruptcy 3 months ago with debts exceeding $200,000. She lost her job 2 months ago after the scandal of her affair with Mr. Richardson became public at her workplace. She's currently unemployed, living in a sublet apartment, and according to text messages we've subpoenaed, she and Mr. Richardson have discussed what they would do with access to Naomi's trust fund." "That's not true." Vanessa stood up in the gallery. "Sit down, please," Judge Morrison said sharply. "Ms. Walsh, is your witness testifying today?" "She is, Your Honor." "Then call her now. I want to hear this directly." Vanessa was sworn in, her hand shaking slightly on the Bible. She sat in the witness box trying to maintain her composure, but Maya could see the cracks forming. Walsh started gently. "Ms. Chen, how do you know the parties in this case?" "I worked with Marcus, Mr. Richardson, at Davidson Marketing Group. We became close friends, and eventually we fell in love. I know it wasn't ideal timing, but these things happen." "And you've observed Miss Richardson Hartwell's behavior?" "Yes. During the 2 custody exchanges I was present for, Maya was clearly unstable. She was crying, erratic, saying bizarre things. She told Marcus he'd regret everything, that karma was coming for him. She seemed paranoid and disconnected from reality." "And these observations concerned you?" "Very much. I'm worried about baby Naomi being raised by someone so emotionally volatile." Harold stood for cross-examination, and his smile was deadly. "Ms. Chen, you said you and Mr. Richardson fell in love. When exactly did this love begin?" "About 8 months ago." 8 months ago, And when was Miss Richardson Hartwell's father diagnosed with terminal cancer? Vanessa's face paled slightly. I don't know exactly. It was 9 months ago, so your love affair began while Miss Richardson Hartwell's father was dying and she was pregnant with Mr. Richardson's child. Is that correct? We didn't plan it that way. Yes or no, please? Yes. And you attended Miss Richardson Hartwell's father's funeral, didn't you? Briefly, yes, to support Marcus. To support him at his estranged wife's father's funeral. How thoughtful. Harold's tone was cutting. And can you tell the court what you said when Mr. James Richardson's heart monitor flatlined? Vanessa's eyes went wide. I don't recall. You don't recall? Let me refresh your memory. Harold pulled out a document. We have testimony from 3 nurses who were present in the ICU that night. All 3 independently reported hearing a woman matching your description say the word finally when Mr. Richardson was pronounced dead. Do you deny saying that? The courtroom went silent. Even Marcus looked shocked. I didn't mean... It was taken out of context, Vanessa stammered. What context makes finally appropriate when a good man dies? I just meant that his suffering was over. His suffering, of course. Harold pulled out another document. Ms. Chen, you testified that you observed Miss Richardson Hartwell during custody exchanges. How many exchanges were there? 2, like I said. And both occurred at Mr. Richardson's apartment where you were living at the time, correct? Yes. The apartment you shared as his mistress, then his wife for 6 weeks, then his ex-wife after your marriage fell apart. Is it fair to say you had a vested interest in Miss Richardson Hartwell looking unstable during these exchanges? I was just observing. You were just observing the woman whose husband you stole, whose father had just died, who'd just given birth, and you expected her to be what? Cheerful, composed, perfectly rational? Walsh stood. Objection? Argumentative? Sustained. Rephrase, Mr. Ashford. Harold nodded. Ms. Chen, have you ever told Mr. Richardson that if he gained custody of Naomi, you two could get back together and live the life you deserve? Vanessa's face went white. Is that a yes? We talked about possibilities, and did those possibilities include accessing Naomi's inheritance? We never said that explicitly. But you discussed it, yes or no? Vanessa looked at Marcus desperately, but he was staring at the table, his face unreadable. We discussed that having custody would mean Marcus could make financial decisions for her, yes. Financial decisions for a 3-month-old baby. Interesting. Harold pulled out his phone. Your Honor, I'd like to play a recording that was legally obtained through a subpoena of Ms. Chen's phone records. This is a voicemail she left for Mr. Richardson 2 weeks before he filed this custody petition. He pressed play. Vanessa's voice filled the courtroom, slightly drunk, bitter. Marcus, I know you're not taking my calls, but you need to listen to me. Your daughter is sitting on billions. Do you understand that? Billions. And you're just letting Maya raise her, letting Maya control everything when you could have custody. You could be making decisions about that money. We could fix everything. My bankruptcy, your debt, all of it. You just need to fight for custody. Any judge would give a father rights to his own kid. Call me back. We need to talk about this. The courtroom erupted. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Vanessa was crying now, her careful composure completely shattered. Ms. Chen, Harold said quietly, does that sound like someone concerned about a child's welfare? Or someone concerned about a child's bank account? I was just trying to help. Help yourself to a 3-month-old's inheritance. I have no further questions for this witness. Vanessa practically ran from the stand, rushing out of the courtroom in tears. Marcus sat frozen, realizing too late that bringing Vanessa had destroyed any credibility he might have had. Judge Morrison looked at Walsh. Do you have any other witnesses? We have Mr. Richardson himself, Your Honor. Call him. Marcus took the stand, sworn in, looking significantly less confident than he had an hour ago. Walsh tried to salvage the situation. Mr. Richardson, can you explain your relationship with your daughter? I love Naomi. She's my child. I want to be in her life. And why are you seeking custody now? Because I'm concerned about Maya's mental state. She's isolating, she's struggling, and I think Naomi would be better off with me. Harold stood for cross-examination, and Maya saw the predator in him now. Mr. Richardson, you testified that you love your daughter. How much did you contribute to her birth? What do you mean? Hospital bills, prenatal care, baby supplies. How much? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Maya had insurance through her father's estate. So $0, is that correct? I was going through a difficult financial transition, a transition that included a $30,000 wedding to Ms. Chen. You had money for that, but not for your daughter's birth. That was different. Indeed it was. Mr. Richardson, do you know your daughter's pediatrician's name? Marcus went blank. Maya handles the medical stuff. What about her favorite toy, her sleep schedule, whether she's been vaccinated? I haven't been given access to that information. You haven't asked for it. In 3 months, you've attended exactly 0 pediatrician appointments, 0 midnight feedings, 0 diaper changes, but now you want full custody. Can you explain why? Because I'm her father. You're her biological father. But Mr. Richardson, let me ask you something else. 3 weeks ago, you were offered $500,000 to terminate your parental rights. You rejected it. Why? Because my daughter isn't for sale. Interesting. Because 2 weeks before that, you were offered $50,000 for the same thing. You ignored that offer completely. Can you explain why $50,000 wasn't enough, but $500,000 was still not enough? Marcus's lawyer started to object, but Marcus cut her off, his temper flaring. Because I know what my daughter is worth. She's going to inherit billions, and I'm her father, so I have rights. He stopped, realizing what he'd just said. The courtroom went silent. Harold smiled. So this is about money. Thank you for clarifying, Your Honor. I'd like to enter into evidence the recording we discussed earlier, the one where Mr. Richardson visits his dying father-in-law and asks about life insurance money. Objection! Walsh was on her feet. That recording is prejudicial. It's directly relevant to Mr. Richardson's motivations. Your Honor, this man asked his dying father-in-law if there was money that could offset the burden of supporting his pregnant wife. The court needs to hear who we're really dealing with, Judge Morrison considered. I'll allow it. Play the recording. The courtroom listened in horrified silence as Marcus's voice filled the space, asking James Richardson about life insurance, calling Maya and the baby unsustainable, treating his dying father-in-law like a potential ATM. When it ended, Judge Morrison looked at Marcus with undisguised disgust. Mr. Richardson, I've been a family court judge for 17 years. I've seen parents fight over custody for many reasons, some noble, some petty, some misguided. But I have never, in all my years, seen someone as transparently motivated by greed as you are right now. Your Honor, I love my daughter. You love her inheritance. There's a difference. Do you have any evidence, any at all, that Miss Richardson Hartwell is actually an unfit mother? Not that she's grieving, not that she's tired, not that she blocked you on social media after you married your mistress. Actual evidence of unfitness? Marcus looked at his lawyer desperately. Walsh stood. Your Honor, we believe the totality of circumstances. The totality of circumstances shows me a young woman who lost her father, was abandoned by her husband, gave birth alone, and is raising her child with dignity despite all of that. And it shows me a man who ignored his daughter for 3 months, rejected reasonable financial settlements, and only became interested in parenting when he learned about her inheritance. Judge Morrison closed the file in front of her. Mr. Richardson, I'm denying your petition for custody. Furthermore, I'm ordering a psychological evaluation before you're granted even supervised visitation. And I'm referring this case to the court's fraud investigation unit because I believe you filed this petition in bad faith with the intent to access a minor child's finances. Marcus went white. Your Honor, please. We're done here. Miss Richardson Hartwell retains full custody. Mr. Richardson, you're lucky I'm not holding you in contempt for wasting this court's time. We're adjourned. The gavel came down like a gunshot. Maya sat perfectly still, barely breathing as the reality sank in. She'd won. Her baby was safe. Marcus stood shakily, his lawyer whispering urgently to him, but he wasn't listening. He was staring at Maya with an expression she'd never seen before, complete and utter defeat. Harold leaned over. Your father would be so proud of you. Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She gathered her things and walked toward the exit, where her security detail waited to escort her home to Naomi. As she passed Marcus in the aisle, he grabbed her arm. Maya, wait, please, I made a mistake. I panicked about money. But I do love Naomi. Please don't cut me out completely. Maya looked at his hand on her arm, then at his face, and she remembered every moment. The hospital room where her father died while Marcus texted about work, the courthouse where he'd married Vanessa while Maya was still reeling from grief, the 3 months of Naomi's life he'd ignored completely. She pulled her arm free. You're right about one thing, Marcus. You did make a mistake. Actually, you made several, but the biggest one was thinking I was weak, thinking I'd fold, thinking my daughter was a prize you could claim whenever you felt like it. Her voice was quiet, deadly calm. My father taught me something important. He taught me that mercy is for people who deserve it, and you don't. She walked out of the courtroom, leaving him standing there, broken and alone. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright, almost blinding after the dim courtroom. Maya stood on the courthouse steps, breathing in the spring air, feeling lighter than she had in months. Her phone buzzed, a text from the nanny. Naomi just rolled over for the first time. She's so strong, just like her mama. Maya smiled through tears, looking up at the sky, imagining her father somewhere out there, smiling back. "We did it, Daddy," she whispered. "We won." But even as she said it, she didn't know that the real battle was just beginning. Because Vanessa, humiliated and desperate, was about to do something that would force Maya to unleash the full power of her inheritance in ways that would shock the entire city. Maya thought the courtroom victory was the end. She thought Marcus and Vanessa would disappear into their shame, lick their wounds in private, and leave her alone to raise Naomi in peace. She was wrong. Because 3 weeks after the custody hearing, on a quiet Tuesday morning while Maya was feeding Naomi in the nursery, her phone exploded with notifications, text after text, email after email, news alerts flooding her screen. The first one made her blood run cold. Breaking: billionaire heiress Maya Richardson Hartwell under investigation for child endangerment. Her hands shook so violently she almost dropped Naomi. She clicked the link with trembling fingers. The article was on a tabloid news site, but it was detailed, vicious, and spreading like wildfire across social media. It claimed that Maya had been photographed leaving Naomi alone in a car while she shopped at an upscale boutique, that neighbors had reported hearing the baby crying for hours in her brownstone with no one responding, that she'd been seen drinking alcohol while breastfeeding, that Child Protective Services had opened an investigation. Every single word was a lie. But the photos looked real. A woman who looked like Maya, same hair, same build, leaving a baby in a car seat visible through a window. Time-stamped, geo-tagged, seemingly irrefutable. Maya's phone rang. Harold. "Don't panic," he said immediately. "This is Vanessa. We already know it's Vanessa. The photos are doctored. We've got digital forensics analyzing them now. The tips to CPS came from burner phones we're tracing. This is a coordinated attack." "Why would she do this?" Maya's voice broke. "She already lost. The custody case is over. Because she's desperate. She lost her job, her reputation, everything, and she blames you. Maya, we need to get ahead of this. I'm calling an emergency press conference for this afternoon. We're going to expose exactly who's behind this and why." "A press conference? Uncle Harry, I've never done anything like that. I don't know how to—" "You know how to tell the truth. That's all you need to do. Your father left you resources for a reason, Maya. It's time to use them." 4 hours later, Maya stood behind a podium at the offices of Hartwell & Associates, every major news outlet in the city represented in the room, cameras rolling, reporters shouting questions. She wore a simple navy dress, minimal makeup, and held a folder containing evidence that would destroy Vanessa Chen's credibility forever. Harold stood beside her, along with 2 attorneys and a digital forensics expert. Maya's voice shook at first, but grew stronger as she spoke. "My name is Maya Richardson Hartwell, and this morning I woke up to find myself accused of child endangerment based on fabricated evidence and malicious lies. I'm here today to set the record straight and to expose the person responsible for this attack." She pulled out the first document. "These photos that claim to show me leaving my daughter in a car were digitally altered. Our forensics team has confirmed that my face was superimposed onto another woman's body. The metadata shows the original photos were taken 6 months ago, before my daughter was even born. The alterations were made from an IP address registered to Vanessa Chen, the same woman who testified at my custody hearing 3 weeks ago." Murmurs rippled through the press corps. "The anonymous tips to Child Protective Services?" Maya continued, her voice steady now. "They came from 3 burner phones, all purchased at the same electronics store in Brooklyn using a credit card belonging to Ms. Chen. We have surveillance footage of her making these purchases." She nodded to her team, who began distributing packets to the journalists. "You'll find in your packets complete documentation of Ms. Chen's campaign of harassment against me over the past 4 months. Fake social media accounts created to spread rumors about me. Emails sent to my foundation's board members claiming I was embezzling funds. Anonymous calls to Naomi's pediatrician claiming I was abusing my daughter, all traced back to Ms. Chen." A reporter stood. Why would she do this? What's her motivation? Maya's expression hardened. Ms. Chen had an affair with my ex-husband while my father was dying and I was pregnant. She encouraged him to divorce me and marry her, which he did 24 hours after my father's funeral. When their marriage fell apart 6 weeks later, she encouraged him to file for custody of my daughter, not out of concern for Naomi's welfare, but because she believed controlling my daughter would give them access to her inheritance. When that custody case failed spectacularly, Ms. Chen apparently decided to destroy my reputation instead. "What do you want to happen to her?" another reporter called out. "I want her to face consequences. I'm filing a civil lawsuit for defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I'm also filing a criminal complaint for falsifying evidence and making false reports to government agencies. And I'm going to make sure that every person she's tried to deceive knows exactly who she is and what she's done." The press conference lasted another 30 minutes, with Maya calmly dismantling every lie, presenting every piece of evidence, and demonstrating exactly what happened when you came for a Hartwell's family. By that evening, the narrative had completely flipped. The tabloid that ran the original story issued a retraction and apology. Vanessa's social media was flooded with outrage, and the district attorney's office announced they were opening a criminal investigation. But Maya wasn't done. 2 days later, she held another press conference, this one to announce something that would define her legacy far more than any custody battle or revenge plot. "When my father died 6 months ago," Maya said, standing in front of a building in the neighborhood where she'd grown up, "he left me more than money. He left me a mission. He wanted me to help women who felt powerless, abandoned, alone. Women like I was 6 months ago, grieving and pregnant and terrified. So today, I'm announcing the opening of the James Hartwell Center for Women and Children." She gestured to the building behind her, a beautiful renovated brownstone with wraparound accessibility, bright windows, and a welcoming entrance. "This center will provide free legal services for women going through divorce or custody battles, free childcare for single mothers trying to work or go to school, free counseling for women dealing with grief, trauma, or postpartum depression, free job training and placement services, and emergency housing for women fleeing dangerous situations." The cameras flashed as she continued, her voice strong. "We're opening 10 of these centers across the city over the next year, funded by the Richardson Hartwell Foundation with an initial commitment of $200 million because no woman should have to face what I faced alone, and no child should suffer because their mother doesn't have resources." A reporter raised her hand. "Is this response to what Vanessa Chen tried to do to you?" Maya smiled. "No, this was always the plan. My father set this in motion before he died. But what Ms. Chen tried to do reminded me of something important. The best response to people who try to destroy you isn't destruction, it's creation. She wanted to tear me down. Instead, I'm going to build something that will outlast all of us." The centers opened 3 months later to overwhelming demand. In the first week, they helped 53 women. By the end of the first month, that number was 212. By the end of the year, the James Hartwell Centers had served over 3,000 women and children across the city. And Maya discovered something she hadn't expected: healing. Every woman she helped, every child she gave a safe place to play, every mother who walked into her center terrified and walked out with a plan and hope, each one healed a small piece of the wound Marcus and Vanessa had left. She wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. She was doing it because it mattered, because her father had taught her that real wealth isn't what you keep, it's what you give away. 1 year after the custody battle, Maya sat in her office at the flagship Hartwell Center, reviewing grant applications when her assistant knocked. "There's someone here to see you. No appointment. He says his name is Marcus Richardson." Maya's hand stilled on the papers. "Tell him I'm busy." "I did. He says he'll wait as long as it takes." Maya sighed. She could have him removed, should have him removed, but something made her curious. "Fine. Give me 5 minutes, then send him in." Marcus walked in looking like a shadow of the man he'd been. His suit was off the rack, not tailored. His face was drawn, tired. He'd lost weight, and not in a healthy way. "Thank you for seeing me," he said quietly, standing awkwardly by the door. "You have 5 minutes. What do you want?" "To apologize. I know it doesn't mean anything. I know it's too late, but I need to say it anyway." He took a breath. "I destroyed everything good in my life chasing things that didn't matter. I left you when you needed me most. I tried to take Naomi not because I loved her, but because I was greedy and desperate. And I let Vanessa convince me to do terrible things because I was too weak to think for myself." "Is that it?" No, I also wanted to tell you that you were right about everything, and your father was right about me. I wasn't enough, not for you, not for Naomi, not for the life you deserved. I see that now. Maya studied him. This man she'd once loved, now reduced to a stranger bearing apologies she didn't need. What do you want from me, Marcus? Forgiveness? Absolution? Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I just wanted you to know, that I see what I lost and that I'm sorry. Okay, you've said it. Now leave. He turned to go, then paused. Naomi is lucky to have you as her mother. Your father knew what he was doing when he protected you both. When he left, Maya sat in the silence, waiting to feel something. Satisfaction, vindication, even pity. But all she felt was tired. Tired of Marcus, tired of the past, tired of giving him space in her mind he no longer deserved. She pulled out her phone and looked at the photo she'd taken that morning, Naomi at 14 months old, taking her first steps in the nursery her grandfather had designed, laughing with pure joy. That's what mattered. Not Marcus's regrets, not Vanessa's revenge plots, not the billions in the bank, just this, her daughter, healthy and happy and loved beyond measure. Maya's phone buzzed, a text from one of the center directors. Just helped a mom secure emergency custody of her kids from an abusive ex. She's crying with relief. Thank you for making this possible. Maya smiled. This was what her father had meant about real wealth. 6 months later, Vanessa Chen was convicted of filing false reports and sentenced to community service and probation. She declared bankruptcy for the second time and moved out of state. Maya heard she was working retail in Ohio, living with her mother, trying to rebuild a life she'd destroyed chasing money that was never hers to begin with. Marcus faded into obscurity. He took a job in a smaller firm, dated occasionally but never seriously, and became one of those men who peaked early and spent the rest of their lives wondering what might have been. He sent child support payments on time every month, not because the court ordered it, but because it was the only parenting he was capable of. Maya deposited them into a college fund for Naomi, not because she needed the money, but because her daughter deserved to know her father at least tried in some small way. And Maya? Maya became exactly who her father always knew she could be. By Naomi's second birthday, the Richardson Hartwell Foundation had expanded to 15 cities. They'd helped over 10,000 women and children. They'd changed laws, influenced policy, and created a model for community support that other organizations began to replicate. Maya was featured on the cover of Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in philanthropy. Forbes called her the billionaire who's changing how America supports struggling families. She gave speeches at conferences, testified before Congress, and used every ounce of her resources and influence to make sure no woman felt as alone as she'd felt that day in the courthouse watching Marcus sign divorce papers. But her favorite moments were still the small ones, reading to Naomi before bed in her father's old jacket that still faintly smelled like him, teaching her daughter to be kind, generous, strong, showing her the portrait of her grandfather in his janitor's uniform and telling her, this is what real success looks like, not the money, the character. On the 5th anniversary of her father's death, Maya took Naomi to the cemetery. Her daughter was 5 now, bright and curious and full of questions. Mama, why are we visiting Grandpa James if he's in heaven? Because his body is here, baby, and we want to honor it, want to tell him thank you. Thank you for what? Maya knelt beside her daughter, running her fingers over the headstone that read, James Hartwell Richardson, janitor, father, hero. Thank you for teaching me that the people who leave you are just making room for you to become who you were always meant to be. Thank you for protecting us even when he was gone, and thank you for showing me that real power isn't taking revenge on people who hurt you, it's building a life so beautiful they become irrelevant. Naomi didn't fully understand, but she nodded seriously and placed the yellow roses they'd brought on her grandfather's grave. As they walked back to the car, Naomi slipped her small hand into Maya's. Mama, when I grow up, I want to help people like you do. Maya squeezed her daughter's hand, tears pricking her eyes. Then you will, baby, because that's what Hartwells do. We don't just inherit money, we inherit purpose. That night, after Naomi was asleep, Maya sat in her study looking at the letter her father had written 5 years ago. The one that said, show no mercy. She'd misunderstood it at first, thought it meant destroy them, make them suffer, take revenge. But now she understood what her father really meant. Show no mercy to the voice in your head that says you're not enough. Show no mercy to the people who try to limit you, diminish you, steal from you. Show no mercy to the systems that keep women powerless, but show tremendous, endless, boundless mercy to yourself. Mercy to grieve, mercy to heal. Mercy to build the life you deserve instead of the life others tried to force on you. That was the real victory. Not that she'd destroyed Marcus and Vanessa, though she had thoroughly and completely, but that she'd built something so meaningful, so powerful, so transformative that they simply didn't matter anymore. They'd tried to take everything from her. Instead, they'd given her the freedom to become extraordinary. And as Maya turned off the light and checked on Naomi one last time before bed, she whispered into the darkness, "Thank you, Daddy, for everything. I finally understand what you were trying to teach me all along." Outside her window, the city lights sparkled like stars, full of women whose lives she'd changed, children whose futures she'd secured, and a legacy that would outlive all of them. Marcus had left a billionaire for a mirage. Vanessa had destroyed a woman she thought was weak. And Maya had inherited $5 billion and used every penny to prove that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's becoming so powerful, so purposeful, so whole that the people who tried to break you can't even touch the life you've built. That's what real wealth looks like. And Maya Richardson Hartwell finally, beautifully, completely understood. Final viewer engagement. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone walk out of your life and later realize it was the best thing that could have happened to you? Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, only to discover that betrayal made room for something better? Or have you ever watched someone who hurt you face the consequences of their own choices and felt not anger, but peace? Drop your story in the comments right now. I want to hear about the Marcus or Vanessa in your life and how you survived them. Because Maya's story isn't just her story. It's the story of everyone who's ever been told they weren't enough and had to prove the world wrong. And here's my question for you. If you inherited $5 billion tomorrow, what would you do with it? Would you live lavishly, start a business, change your community? Tell me in the comments. Be specific. Because dreams don't become real until you speak them out loud. Now, where are you watching this from? Are you in Lagos watching this at 2 a.m. when you should be sleeping? Are you in New York listening to this on your commute? London, Dubai, Manila, Tokyo? Drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far Maya's story has traveled across the world. And listen, if this story moved you, if it made you cry or cheer or believe that good people can win, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously. Click it. And here's the important part. Turn on that notification bell. Because I post stories like this every week. Stories about karma, justice, people who thought they got away with something until they didn't. And if you don't have notifications on, YouTube won't tell you when the next one drops, and you'll miss it. Hit that like button if you believe that living well is the best revenge. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their value isn't determined by the people who walked away. And remember what Maya's father taught her. You are never alone. You are never poor. You are never powerless. You just might not know it yet. Thanks for watching. And remember, the people who underestimate you are doing you a favor. They're giving you the chance to prove them wrong in ways they'll never forget. Maya Richardson Hartwell thought her story was over. 5 years after she inherited $5 billion, 5 years after she left her ex-husband, Marcus, destroyed in family court, and his mistress Vanessa fleeing the state in disgrace, 5 years after she'd built the most successful women's foundation in American history. She thought the chapter on Marcus was closed forever, but she was wrong. Because when her 6-year-old daughter Naomi stood at a podium in front of 500 of the city's most powerful people and said 7 words that would break the internet, "My daddy left my mama for money," everything Maya thought she knew about forgiveness, about justice, about protecting her daughter from the truth was about to be tested in ways that would leave Marcus on his knees, begging for something money could never buy. But what shattered every heart in that room wasn't just a 6-year-old's innocent honesty. It was what happened next. Because Marcus was in that audience. He'd bought a ticket under a fake name just to see his daughter from a distance, the daughter he'd abandoned, the daughter he hadn't been allowed to see in 5 years after violating the court's visitation terms. And when Naomi's words echoed through that ballroom, when she told the truth he'd spent 5 years running from, Marcus did something no one expected. He stood up, walked to the front, and said the 4 words that would either destroy him completely or give him the only chance at redemption he'd ever have. "She's right. I did." What Maya's father didn't predict when he left those letters, what Maya couldn't have imagined when she won that custody battle, was that 5 years later, Marcus would do something that would force her to make an impossible choice. Does she protect her daughter from a father who abandoned her? Or does she teach her daughter that people can change, that mercy sometimes looks like giving someone a second chance they absolutely don't deserve? And here's the part that'll leave you in tears. The choice Maya makes doesn't just change Marcus's life. It changes Vanessa's too. Because when Vanessa sees what happens at that gala, when she watches Marcus face his daughter for the first time in 5 years, she'll do something so shocking, so unexpected, that it'll prove Maya's father was right about one final thing. That real power isn't just about destroying your enemies. It's about being strong enough to let them destroy themselves, or courageous enough to watch them rebuild. So the question isn't just what happened 5 years after she inherited $5 billion, it's this. What does a mother do when her 6-year-old daughter asks why her daddy doesn't want her? How does a billionaire who's built her entire identity on protecting women teach her daughter about forgiveness without betraying everything she stands for? And what happens when the man who once told you you'd never be enough comes back broken, humble, and asking not for money, not for access to your empire, but for 5 minutes with the daughter whose entire life he missed? Because what happened at that gala didn't just change Marcus and Vanessa's lives forever. It showed the world what real strength looks like. And it's not what any of us expected. Listen, if you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 of this story, the links are in the description, and you need to watch them first, because what's about to happen will only make sense if you understand how we got here. But if you're caught up, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because this final part of Maya's story is going to show you what real forgiveness looks like. And it's nothing like what you think. Smash that like button if you believe people can change, but also believe they need to prove it. And comment below, have you ever had to decide whether to let someone who hurt you back into your life? Tell me what you chose and why. Because Maya's about to make the hardest choice of her life. The annual Richardson Hartwell Foundation Gala was the event of the year in philanthropic circles. 500 of the city's most powerful people gathered in the ballroom of the Grand Cascadia Hotel, dressed in tuxedos and evening gowns, sipping champagne that cost more per bottle than most people made in a week. But tonight wasn't about wealth. It was about impact. The foundation had just announced that in 5 years, they'd helped over 50,000 women and children across 20 cities, with a total investment of $800 million in programs that were changing lives. Maya stood backstage, watching through the curtain as the executive director gave the opening remarks, her hand resting on her daughter's shoulder. Naomi was 6 years old now, tall for her age, with her grandfather's intelligent eyes and her mother's gentle smile. She wore a simple blue dress. Maya's rule was that Naomi dressed like a normal child, not a billionaire heiress, and her hair was pulled back in 2 neat braids. "Mama, I'm nervous," Naomi whispered, clutching the index cards Maya had helped her prepare. "I know, baby, but you're going to do great. Just read what we wrote, nice and slow, and remember, everyone in that room is there because they believe in helping people. They're on your side." "What if I mess up?" Maya knelt down, eye level with her daughter. "Then you mess up, and it's okay. Grandpa James used to tell me that the only real mistake is not trying at all, and you're trying. That makes you brave." Naomi nodded, taking a deep breath, and Maya felt her heart swell with pride and terror in equal measure. This was Naomi's idea. She'd asked if she could speak at the gala, tell people what the foundation meant to her. Maya had tried to talk her out of it, worried about the pressure, the scrutiny, the inevitable questions about her father that reporters love to ask. But Naomi had insisted, and Maya had learned over 6 years of single motherhood, that sometimes the best thing you could do for your child was get out of their way and let them be brave. "And now," the executive director announced, "I'd like to introduce someone very special. She's 6 years old, she's the granddaughter of our founder James Hartwell, and she has something she wants to share with all of you. Please welcome Naomi Richardson Hartwell." The ballroom erupted in applause. Maya gave Naomi's hand one last squeeze, and her daughter walked onto that stage like she'd been born for it, her small frame dwarfed by the massive podium, but her presence somehow filling the entire room. Maya watched from the wings, her heart in her throat as Naomi adjusted the microphone and looked out at 500 strangers with more courage than most adults could muster. "Hi," Naomi said, her voice clear and strong. "My name is Naomi, and my grandpa James died before I was born, but my mama tells me about him all the time. She says he was a janitor at a school and he worked really hard and he loved helping people even when nobody knew he was doing it. The room was completely silent, captivated by this small girl with the big voice. My mama started this foundation because my grandpa wanted to help mamas who were sad and scared and didn't have anybody to help them, like my mama was when I was born. Naomi glanced at her index cards, then back up. My mama was really scared when I was a baby because my daddy left us. He left my mama for money. Maya's breath caught. That wasn't on the cards. That wasn't what they'd rehearsed. She didn't tell me that, Naomi continued, her voice trembling slightly now. I heard grown-ups talking about it at school. They said my daddy divorced my mama right after my grandpa died because he didn't know my grandpa was rich. And when he found out, he tried to take me away so he could have the money. Oh, God. Maya started to move forward to stop this, to protect her daughter from saying things she couldn't take back, but Harold grabbed her arm gently. Wait, he whispered. Let her finish. I don't remember my daddy, Naomi said, and now there were tears in her eyes. I've never met him. But my mama never says bad things about him. She just says that sometimes people make mistakes, and we have to decide if we want to be angry or if we want to be kind. And I think my mama is the kindest person in the whole world because she helps all these other mamas, even though she was sad too. Maya was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. So I just wanted to say thank you, Naomi finished. Thank you for helping my mama help people. Because my grandpa James was right. The best treasure is a good heart, and my mama has the best heart. The applause was deafening. People were on their feet, some crying openly, moved by the raw honesty of a child who'd just told a truth that most adults would have hidden. But Maya wasn't watching the crowd. She was watching Naomi's face, seeing the relief and pride and something else. Question forming that Maya knew was coming eventually but wasn't ready to answer. And then everything stopped. Because a man stood up in the middle of the ballroom, a man Maya would have recognized anywhere, even though he looked nothing like he had 5 years ago. Thinner, older, worn down by life in ways that wealth used to protect him from. Marcus. He walked toward the stage slowly, and Maya's security team started to move, but she held up her hand. Wait. Marcus stopped at the edge of the stage, looking up at Naomi, really looking at her for the first time in her entire life. You're right, he said, his voice breaking. I did. I left your mama for money, and it's the worst thing I've ever done. Not because of the money I lost, because of you, because I missed your whole life. The ballroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Naomi stared at this stranger, her 6-year-old mind trying to process what was happening. Are you my daddy? I'm the man who should have been your daddy, Marcus said, tears streaming down his face. But I wasn't. I was selfish and stupid, and I threw away everything that mattered. And I know I don't deserve to talk to you. I know I have no right to be here. But I heard you were speaking tonight, and I needed to see you. Even from far away, I needed to see the person I should have known. Maya was moving now, walking onto that stage, putting herself between Marcus and Naomi, every protective instinct screaming. Security, please escort Mr. Richardson out of the building. Maya, please. You violated the court order. You're not allowed within 500 feet of Naomi. Leave, now. But Naomi's small hand grabbed Maya's arm. Mama, wait. Maya looked down at her daughter, this beautiful, brilliant, brave little girl who was watching her father with curiosity instead of fear, with questions instead of anger. Is he really my daddy? Naomi asked quietly. Maya's throat closed up. She'd known this moment would come eventually, but not like this. Not in front of 500 people. Not with Marcus standing there broken and begging. Biologically, yes, Maya managed. But Naomi, this is complicated. This isn't the time. I just want to say one thing, Marcus interrupted, his voice desperate. Just one thing, and then I'll leave and never come back if that's what you want. Maya should have said no, should have had him removed, should have protected her daughter from this man who'd proven over and over that he couldn't be trusted. But something in his voice stopped her, something different than the Marcus she'd known, something broken, but real. 30 seconds, she said coldly. Then you leave. Marcus knelt down, making himself smaller, less threatening, and looked at Naomi. I was supposed to be at the hospital the night you were born. I was supposed to hold you first and tell you I loved you and promise to protect you forever. But I wasn't there. And every day since then, every single day for 6 years, I wake up knowing I missed it. I missed your first word, your first step, your first day of school. I missed everything, and I can't get that back. I can't fix what I broke." He pulled something from his pocket, a small, worn photograph. "But I want you to know that I think about you every day. This is a picture your mama posted online when you were 3 days old. It's the only picture I have of you. And I look at it every morning and every night, and I tell myself that maybe someday, if I can become someone worthy of you, maybe I'll get a chance to say I'm sorry. Not to ask for anything, just to say I'm sorry." He set the photograph on the edge of the stage and stood up. "Thank you for letting me say that. I'll go now." He turned to leave, and Naomi's voice rang out, "Wait." Everyone froze. Naomi looked at Maya. "Mama, can I ask him something?" Maya's heart was breaking. This wasn't fair. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. But she looked into her daughter's eyes and saw something that terrified her, hope. "One question," Maya whispered. Naomi turned to Marcus. "If you could have a do-over, would you stay with my mama?" The question hung in the air like a grenade. Marcus's face crumpled. "Yes, God, yes, I would stay. I would be there when you were born. I would change your diapers and wake up for night feedings and teach you to ride a bike. I would tell your mama she was enough every single day until she believed it. And I would never, ever leave." "But you did leave," Naomi said simply. "So why should I believe you now?" And there it was, 6 years old, and she'd asked the question that mattered more than any other. Marcus had no answer. He just stood there, stripped of every defense, every excuse, every justification, and said the only true thing he had left. "You shouldn't. I haven't earned that. I just wanted you to know that I see what I lost, and it wasn't the money, it was you." Maya made a decision that would change everything. "Naomi, go backstage with Uncle Harry, now." Naomi hesitated, then obeyed, leaving Maya and Marcus alone on that stage in front of 500 people. Maya walked to the edge of the stage and looked down at the man who'd destroyed her, abandoned her, tried to steal her child. And she said, "You're right. You don't deserve a second chance. You don't deserve to know her. But this isn't about what you deserve. It's about what she deserves. And what she deserves is the truth and the choice when she's old enough to make it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave right now," Maya said, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. "You're going to go home and you're going to write Naomi a letter. Not me, her. You're going to explain, in words a 6-year-old can understand, why you weren't there. You're going to be honest. You're going to take responsibility. And you're not going to make excuses or blame me or talk about the money. Just the truth." Marcus nodded, barely breathing. "Then you're going to mail that letter to my attorney. He'll review it. If it's appropriate, if it's honest, if it's truly about her and not about you, he'll give it to me. And I'll read it. And if I think it won't hurt her, I'll give it to Naomi. That's step 1. No guarantees, no promises, just a letter." "Okay," Marcus whispered. "What's step 2? "There is no step 2 until step 1 happens. And Marcus," Maya's voice turned to ice, "if you show up uninvited again, if you violate the court order again, if you do anything that makes me question whether you've actually changed or if this is just another manipulation, I will make sure you never get another chance. Do you understand me?" "Yes." "Then leave. And don't contact me directly. Everything goes through my attorney. Everything." Marcus took one last look at the stage where his daughter had been, nodded, and walked out of the ballroom. The doors closed behind him, and the room erupted into whispers. Maya stood there for a moment, shaking, then turned to find Harold and Naomi backstage. Her daughter was sitting in a chair, swinging her legs, looking smaller than she had on that stage. "Mama, are you mad at me?" Maya pulled her into a fierce hug. "No, baby, never. You were so brave tonight, so honest. I'm proud of you." "Is my daddy going to come back?" "I don't know. Maybe, if he does what I asked him to do." "Do you want him to come back?" Maya pulled back to look at Naomi's face, wiping away a tear from her daughter's cheek. "What I want doesn't matter as much as what you need, and I think you need to know the truth about who he is, good and bad. And then, when you're older, you can decide what kind of relationship you want with him, if any. What if he hurts me like he hurt you?" Maya's heart shattered. "Then I'll be right there to protect you, always. That's what mamas do." That night, after the gala, after the press had been managed and the guests had left and Naomi was finally asleep, Maya sat in her study with Harold, a glass of wine she wasn't drinking in her hand. "You did the right thing," Harold said quietly. "Did I? I just gave the man who abandoned my daughter access to her. What if he hurts her? What if he disappoints her? What if—" "Maya, your father left you those letters because he trusted you to know when to show mercy and when to show strength. Tonight, you showed both. You set boundaries, clear ones, and you gave Naomi something more valuable than protection from disappointment. You gave her agency. The ability to know her own story and make her own choices about it. She's 6 years old. She's James Hartwell's granddaughter. She's stronger than you think. Maya wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe she hadn't just made a terrible mistake. The letter arrived 4 days later. Harold called Maya to his office, the envelope sitting on his desk like something dangerous. "I've read it," Harold said. It's good, Maya. It's honest. It's age-appropriate. And it doesn't ask for anything." Maya's hands shook as she opened it. The handwriting was careful, like Marcus had written it multiple times before settling on these exact words. "Dear Naomi, my name is Marcus, and I'm your father. I know that might feel strange to read because we've never met, even though you're 6 years old now. That's my fault. Not your mama's, not yours, mine. When you were about to be born, I made the worst decision of my life. I left your mama because I was scared and selfish, and I thought I wanted different things than what I had. I thought money and success and an easier life would make me happy. I was wrong about everything. Your mama was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. And then I found out that your grandpa James, the one your mama tells you about, left your mama a lot of money. And instead of being happy for her, instead of wanting to help, I got greedy. I tried to take you away from your mama not because I wanted to be your dad, but because I thought it would give me access to money. I know that's hard to understand. It's hard for me to understand how I could have been that terrible. But I was. The judge said I couldn't see you because I hadn't earned the right. And he was correct. I haven't been there for any of your life. I don't know your favorite color or your favorite food or what makes you laugh. I don't know if you're afraid of the dark or if you like to read or what you want to be when you grow up. I don't know you, and that's the saddest thing in my whole life. I'm not writing this letter to ask you to forgive me or to see me. I'm writing it because your mama said you deserve the truth. So here's the truth. I wasn't a good man when you were born. I hurt your mama. I abandoned you, and I have to live with that forever. But I want you to know that even though I wasn't there, even though I made terrible choices, none of it was because of anything you did. You didn't do anything wrong. You were perfect. You are perfect. And if I could go back and do everything differently, I would. I hope someday, when you're older, maybe we can meet. Not because I deserve it, but because you deserve to know where you came from. Both the good parts and the bad parts. Your mama is the good part. I'm the bad part. But maybe if I work really hard and try to be better every day, maybe someday I can be a small good part too. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I hurt your mama, and I'm sorry you have a father who has to write you a letter instead of being able to tell you all of this while tucking you into bed at night. Love, Marcus. Maya read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face before she could speak. He didn't ask for anything. No, Harold agreed. He didn't. He just told the truth. What do you want to do? Maya folded the letter carefully. I want to give it to Naomi, and I want to see what she says. That night, after Naomi's bath, after they'd read 2 chapters of the book they were working through together, Maya sat on the edge of her daughter's bed and held out the envelope. Your father wrote you a letter. You don't have to read it if you don't want to, and if you do read it, you don't have to do anything about it. It's just information. Just the truth. What do you want to do? Naomi took the envelope carefully. Will you read it to me? Of course, baby. Maya read the letter aloud, watching her daughter's face, ready to stop at the first sign of distress. But Naomi just listened, her expression serious and thoughtful beyond her years. When Maya finished, Naomi was quiet for a long moment. He said he was sorry, she finally said. He did. Do you think he means it? Maya chose her words carefully. I think he means it right now. Whether he means it enough to actually be different, to actually be a good father, that's something only time will tell. Mama, can I ask you something hard? Always. Do you still love him? Maya's breath caught. No, baby, I don't. I did once, very much. But he hurt me too badly and I healed, and that love went away. What I feel now is, I hope he's sincere. I hope he's changed, not for me, but for you. Because you deserve a father who shows up. Do you think I should meet him? Do you want to? Naomi thought about it with the seriousness of someone much older. I'm curious. I want to know what he looks like up close, and I want to ask him questions. But I'm also a little bit scared. Scared of what? Scared that I'll like him, and then he'll leave again. Like he left you. Maya pulled Naomi close, breathing in the scent of her daughter's strawberry shampoo, feeling the weight of this impossible responsibility. That's a very smart thing to be scared of, and I can't promise he won't disappoint you, but I can promise that if he does, I'll be right there, and you'll still have me and Uncle Harry and all the people who've loved you since the day you were born. He can't take that away. Naomi nodded against Maya's chest. Okay, I want to meet him, but just for a little bit, like a practice. Maya smiled through her tears. Like a practice? I can arrange that. 2 weeks later, Marcus sat in a conference room at Hartwell & Associates, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. Maya sat across from him, Harold beside her, and a child psychologist named Dr. Sarah Chen sat at the head of the table. Mr. Richardson, Dr. Chen said gently, I've been working with Naomi to prepare her for this meeting. She's nervous but curious. I'm going to lay out some ground rules, and if you can't follow them, this meeting ends immediately. I'll follow any rules you give me, Marcus said. First, this is a 30-minute supervised visit. Maya will be in the room the entire time. You don't touch Naomi unless she initiates it. No hugging, no hand-holding, nothing. You let her come to you if she chooses to. Understood. Second, you don't make promises you can't keep. Don't tell her you'll be there for her birthday unless you've cleared it with Maya first. Don't promise to take her to Disney World. Don't promise anything. Just be honest. Okay. Third, if she asks you a hard question, you answer it honestly but age-appropriately. No lying to make yourself look better. She's 6, but she's perceptive. She'll know if you're being fake. Marcus nodded, his throat tight. And finally, Dr. Chen continued, this is about her, not about you. You don't use this time to apologize to Maya. You don't talk about the past except to answer Naomi's questions. You focus entirely on getting to know your daughter. Can you do that? Yes. Dr. Chen looked at Maya. Are you ready? Maya wanted to say no, wanted to grab Naomi and run, wanted to protect her from any possibility of disappointment, but she'd made her choice. Bring her in. The door opened and Naomi walked in holding a stuffed elephant, her comfort object since she was 2. She looked so small, so vulnerable, and Maya had to fight the urge to scoop her up and end this before it started. Naomi looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and Marcus looked back at his daughter with an expression of such raw pain and longing that even Maya felt it. Hi, Naomi said quietly. Hi, Marcus whispered. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. Naomi sat down next to Maya, still clutching her elephant. You look different than I thought you would. Different how? Sadder. Marcus let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Yeah, I'm pretty sad. I've been sad for a long time. Because of what you did? Yes. Naomi swung her legs, thinking. What's your favorite color? The question was so unexpected, so perfectly Naomi, that Marcus actually smiled. Blue, like the ocean. What's yours? Purple, and also yellow. I can't decide. She paused. Do you have any pets? No? Do you want one? Naomi glanced at Maya. Mama says maybe when I'm older and can help take care of it. That's smart. Pets are a big responsibility. They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then Naomi asked the question that made everyone in the room hold their breath. Why did you leave my mama? Marcus looked at Dr. Chen, who nodded. Truth. Because I was scared and stupid, Marcus said carefully. Your grandpa James was very sick, and your mama was sad, and you were about to be born, and I felt like everything was too hard. Instead of being brave and staying, I ran away, and I convinced myself I was running toward something better. But I was wrong. There was nothing better. I just made everything worse. Did you love my mama? I did. Very much. But I didn't love her the right way. I didn't love her enough to stay when things got hard. And that's the worst kind of failing. Naomi processed this. Do you love me? Maya's heart stopped. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I don't know you well enough to say that in a way that means anything, but I want to know you. I want to earn the right to love you, if you'll let me. That's honest, Naomi said, nodding like a tiny adult. I like honesty. They talked for the remaining 20 minutes, about school, about Naomi's favorite books, about what Marcus did for work now. He managed a small hardware store, nothing glamorous, barely making ends meet. It was awkward and halting and full of silences, but it was also real. When Dr. Chen said time was up, Naomi stood to leave, then paused. Can I ask you one more thing? Anything. If we do this again, will you actually show up, or will you leave like you left before? Marcus looked at Maya, then back at Naomi. I'll show up. I promise. And if I can't for some reason, I'll tell you why ahead of time. I won't just disappear." "Okay." Naomi walked toward the door, then turned back. "You're not as scary as I thought you'd be." After she left, Marcus sat there shaking. "Thank you," he said to Maya. "I know I don't deserve that. Thank you." Maya stood, gathering her things. "I didn't do it for you, I did it for her. And Marcus, you made a promise to a 6-year-old. If you break it, if you disappoint her, if you prove that you haven't actually changed, I will make sure you never get another chance. Are we clear?" Crystal clear. Maya left him sitting there, probably crying, probably realizing what he'd lost and what he was trying to get back. Over the next 6 months, Marcus showed up. Once a month, supervised visits, 30 minutes each, always on time, always prepared, always focused entirely on Naomi. He didn't ask for more time, didn't push for unsupervised visits, didn't complain about the restrictions. He just showed up. And slowly, impossibly, Naomi started to warm to him, started to ask when the next visit was, started to call him Marcus instead of that man or my father. Maya watched it happen with a mixture of relief and terror, relief that Naomi was getting to know her father, terror that he'd eventually revert to who he was and break her daughter's heart. But on the day of Naomi's 7th birthday, something happened that changed everything. A package arrived at Maya's brownstone. Not from Marcus, the return address was from a women's shelter in Cleveland, Ohio. Inside was a letter, and it was from Vanessa Chen. Maya's hands shook as she opened it, expecting poison, expecting one last attack, expecting anything but what she found. "Dear Maya, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to care. But I'm writing it anyway because my therapist says that making amends is part of healing, even when those amends aren't accepted. I destroyed your life. I helped Marcus destroy your life. I whispered, finally, when your father died. I testified against you in court. I tried to ruin you with fake evidence, and for 5 years, I've been living with the consequences of those choices. I lost my career, my reputation, my financial stability. I declared bankruptcy. I moved across the country to escape the scandal. And for a long time, I blamed you. I told myself you were the villain, that you'd somehow won unfairly, that if you'd just shared your money, none of this would have happened. But I was lying to myself. You didn't do anything to me. I did it to myself. I'm writing this from a women's shelter where I've been living for the past 3 months. I lost my apartment, lost my job again, hit rock bottom in ways I never imagined possible. And you want to know the most ironic part? The shelter I'm staying in is funded by your foundation, the Richardson Hartwell Foundation, your father's legacy, the counseling I'm receiving, the job training, the second chance I'm getting. It's all because of you. The woman I tried to destroy is the reason I have hope right now. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't even want it, because I don't think I could handle the weight of your mercy. But I wanted you to know that I finally understand what your father was trying to teach you, what you've been showing the world through your foundation. That real power isn't crushing your enemies. It's being strong enough to help them even after they've tried to hurt you. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better. Not for you, for me. And for all the people I hurt by being who I was. Thank you for giving me a second chance, even though you had no reason to. I'll never contact you again. This is goodbye. But I wanted you to know that the villain in your story is trying to write a better ending for herself. And it's because you showed her it's possible. Vanessa. Maya read the letter 3 times before she showed it to Harold. "What do you want to do with this?" he asked. Maya thought about it for a long time. Then she did something that surprised even herself. She wrote back. Maya's response to Vanessa was simple, just 3 sentences on Richardson Hartwell Foundation letterhead. "I'm glad you're getting help. I'm glad you're healing. That's what the foundation is for. Second chances for people brave enough to take them." She didn't expect to hear from Vanessa again, and she didn't. But knowing that even her enemy had found refuge in something her father had made possible, something Maya had built from grief and pain and determination, that gave her a peace she hadn't known she needed. Naomi's 7th birthday fell on a Saturday in late spring, and Maya had planned a modest party at their brownstone. 15 kids from school, pizza, a bounce house in the backyard, and a cake shaped like a unicorn because Naomi was currently obsessed with all things magical. Nothing extravagant, nothing that screamed billionaire heiress, just a normal 7-year-old's birthday party. Marcus had asked through Harold if he could attend, not as a guest, just to drop off a present and say happy birthday. Maya had consulted Naomi, and her daughter had surprised her by saying yes. So, at 2 p.m., in the middle of the party chaos, kids screaming in the bounce house, parents making small talk over coffee, Naomi's face painted like a butterfly, Marcus arrived at the door carrying a small wrapped box and looking terrified. Maya opened the door, and they stood there for a moment, these two people who'd once promised to love each other forever and had broken that promise in the most devastating ways possible. "Thank you for letting me come," Marcus said quietly. 15 minutes, Maya replied. "You give her the present, you sing happy birthday if she wants you to, and then you leave. Clear?" "Clear." She let him in, and Naomi spotted him immediately. Her face lit up in a way that made Maya's chest ache. Her daughter was happy to see her father. After everything, despite everything, that little girl was glad he came. "Marcus," Naomi ran over, still cautious enough not to hug him, but close enough that Maya could see the connection forming. "You came! I promised I would. Happy birthday, Naomi." He handed her the small box. "I hope you like it." Naomi tore open the wrapping paper with the enthusiasm of a 7-year-old and pulled out a music box, simple hand-carved wood, with a ballerina that spun when you opened it. But what made Maya's breath catch was the song it played, the same lullaby her father used to hum to her, the same one that had played from the music box he'd left her. "How did you?" Maya started. "I asked Harold what song your father used to sing to you," Marcus said softly. I thought maybe Naomi would want to have that connection to her grandfather. I had it custom made." Naomi wound the key and watched the ballerina spin, enchanted. "It's so pretty. Mama, look." Maya looked, and she saw something she'd never expected to see, Marcus making an effort not to buy Naomi's love with expensive gifts, but to give her something meaningful, something that connected her to the family legacy he'd almost destroyed. "Thank you," Maya said quietly. "That was thoughtful." The kids pulled Naomi back to the bounce house, and Marcus stood awkwardly in the foyer, not quite belonging, but not quite a stranger either. "You've done this every month for 6 months, Maya said. "Shown up, been honest, followed the rules. Dr. Chen says Naomi is responding well to the visits, so I'm going to offer you something, and you can say yes or no, but if you say yes, you need to understand what you're committing to." Marcus's whole body went still. "I'm listening. Supervised visits are working, but they're artificial. Naomi needs to see who you really are, not who you are in a conference room for 30 minutes once a month, so I'm willing to extend the visits. 2 hours, once a month, at a public place of my choosing. A park, a museum, somewhere Naomi can be herself. Still supervised, but with more room to actually build a relationship." "Yes," Marcus said immediately. "Yes, absolutely. I'm not finished. If you say yes to this, you're committing to showing up not just when it's convenient, but when it's hard. If Naomi has a bad day and doesn't want to talk, you sit with that. If she asks you hard questions, you answer them. If she needs you to just be present without performing, you do that. This isn't about you proving you're a good dad, it's about you actually being one, even in the messy parts. Can you do that?" Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "I can try. That's all I can promise, that I'll try every single time." "Then we'll try, starting next month." Over the next year, something impossible happened. Marcus didn't just show up, he showed up fully. When Naomi didn't want to talk and just wanted to swing in silence at the park, he pushed her swing without needing her to entertain him. When she asked why he'd left her mama, he told her the truth without sugarcoating but without traumatizing her. When she had a rough day at school and didn't want to see anyone, he texted Maya asking if she was okay and if there was anything he could do to help, even from a distance. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He sometimes tried too hard or asked questions that were too personal too fast, but when Maya or Dr. Chen corrected him, he listened, he adjusted, he learned. And Maya watched, suspicious at first, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for him to prove that people don't really change, but the shoe never dropped. On Naomi's 8th birthday, Marcus asked if he could take her to the zoo, just the two of them, unsupervised, for 3 hours. Maya's first instinct was to say, absolutely not. But Dr. Chen thought it was time, and Naomi wanted to go. So Maya said yes, with conditions. Marcus would check in every hour, they'd stay in public places, and he'd have her back by 4 p.m. sharp. Those 3 hours were the longest of Maya's life. She paced her brownstone, checked her phone obsessively, imagined every possible disaster. Harold came over to keep her company, mostly to keep her from driving to the zoo and hovering. "You're going to have to trust him eventually," Harold said gently. "I don't trust him. I trust Dr. Chen's judgment. I trust Naomi's instincts. But him? No, not yet. Then when? Maya didn't have an answer. At 3:58 p.m., Marcus's car pulled up outside. Maya watched through the window as he opened the back door and Naomi climbed out, clutching a stuffed penguin and chattering excitedly. He walked her to the door, looking relaxed in a way Maya had never seen him. Like being a father was finally becoming natural instead of terrifying. Maya opened the door and Naomi rushed in. Mama, we saw penguins, and Marcus let me feed the giraffes, and we got ice cream even though he knows I'm not supposed to have sugar before dinner. But he said it was a special occasion because I got an A on my spelling test. Maya looked at Marcus, one eyebrow raised. I know, he said sheepishly. Ice cream was a mistake. She's going to be bouncing off walls tonight. I'm sorry. But he was smiling, and Naomi was happy. And for the first time in 8 years, Maya felt something she'd never expected to feel about Marcus: gratitude. Thank you for bringing her home on time, Maya said. I promised. I'm trying to keep my promises now. After Naomi had been bathed and settled with a book, Maya found herself doing something she'd sworn she'd never do. She called Marcus. Is everything okay? Is Naomi all right? His voice was immediately panicked. She's fine. I wanted to say something, and I didn't want to say it in front of her. Okay? Maya took a breath. You've been showing up for over a year now. You haven't missed a single visit. You haven't made excuses. You've respected every boundary. You've put Naomi first even when I know it's been hard, and I need to acknowledge that. You're not the man you were 8 years ago. There was silence on the other end. Then, thank you. That means more than you know. I'm not saying I forgive you. I'm not saying we're friends. And I'm definitely not saying I trust you completely. But I'm saying I see the effort. And for Naomi's sake, I'm grateful for it. Maya, can I ask you something? Depends on the question. Do you think there will ever be a day when I'm allowed to just be her dad? Not supervised, not conditional, just her dad? Maya thought about it carefully. I think if you keep showing up, if you keep doing the work, if you prove over years, not months, Marcus, years, that this is who you are now, then maybe. But that's Naomi's decision as much as mine. When she's old enough, she gets to choose what kind of relationship she wants with you. That's fair. More than fair. And Marcus, the reason I'm even considering this, the reason I let you back into her life at all, isn't because you deserve it. It's because my father taught me something important. He taught me that mercy isn't about the person who wronged you. It's about who you want to be. And I want to be someone who gives people a chance to be better, even when they don't deserve it. 3 years later, on Naomi's 11th birthday, Maya did something that shocked everyone who knew her story. She invited Marcus to Naomi's birthday dinner, not as a visitor, not as a supervised guest, but as her father. He sat at the table in Maya's dining room, next to Naomi, who'd asked if he could come, and they ate pasta and laughed at Naomi's terrible jokes, and for 2 hours, they looked almost like a family. Not the family they could have been. That family was gone, destroyed by choices that couldn't be unmade. But a different family. A complicated one built on honesty and boundaries and hard-won trust instead of romance and promises. After dinner, while Naomi was opening presents in the living room, Marcus found Maya in the kitchen. I know this doesn't fix anything, he said quietly. I know I can never get back what I threw away, but I want you to know that being here tonight, being allowed to be part of her life even in this small way, it's more than I ever thought I'd get. So thank you. Maya dried her hands on a dish towel and looked at this man who'd once been her husband, who'd once destroyed her, who'd spent the last 4 years slowly, painfully, proving that people can change if they want to badly enough. You're welcome. But Marcus, I need you to understand something. This isn't forgiveness. I don't know if I'll ever truly forgive you for what you did, but it's something else. It's acceptance. Acceptance that you're Naomi's father, and she deserves to have you in her life if you're going to be good for her. And so far, you have been. That's all I can ask for. No. You can ask to keep showing up, keep being honest, keep putting her first. That's what you can ask for. And if you do that, then maybe someday, years from now, Naomi will tell her own children about her grandfather James, who taught her mama about real wealth, and about her father Marcus, who learned what it means to actually be a dad. Not perfect, but present. From the living room, Naomi's voice rang out. Mama, Marcus, come see what Uncle Harry got me. They walked back together, not as partners, not as friends, but as two imperfect people doing their best to raise an extraordinary child. On what would have been her father's 70th birthday, Maya took Naomi to visit his grave. Her daughter was 12 now, asking harder questions, understanding more of the complicated truth about her family. "Mama, do you think Grandpa James would be proud of you?" Naomi asked as they placed yellow roses on his headstone. "I hope so. I think so. I've tried to honor what he taught me." "What about proud of Marcus? Do you think he'd be proud that Marcus changed?" Maya thought about it carefully. I think your grandfather would be proud that Marcus tried. That's what he always said mattered most, not being perfect, but trying to be better. Do you think people can really change? Like, really truly change deep down? I think some people can, not everyone. Some people talk about changing but never do the work. But your father did the work. He went to therapy. He faced what he'd done. He showed up even when it was hard. That's real change. Do you think you'll ever love him again? The question caught Maya off guard. "No, sweetheart, that door is closed, but I can respect him. I can appreciate the father he's become for you, and I can be grateful that he's given you something I never had, a chance to know both your parents." Naomi nodded, processing. "I think I'm glad you let him try, even though he messed up really bad at first." "Me too, baby. Me too." That night, Maya sat in her study looking at the letter her father had written over 12 years ago, the one that said, "Show no mercy." She finally understood what he meant. Not that she should be cruel, not that she should never forgive, but that she should show no mercy to the voice that said she had to accept less than she deserved. No mercy to people who refused to change. No mercy to the idea that being strong meant being hard. Real strength, she'd learned, was being soft enough to bend without breaking, firm enough to hold boundaries while leaving space for grace, wise enough to know the difference between someone who was trying to manipulate her and someone who was genuinely trying to transform. Marcus would never be her partner again, would never be fully trusted again, would always carry the weight of what he'd done. But he was Naomi's father, and he was trying, and sometimes trying was enough. Maya's phone buzzed, a text from the foundation. "Just helped our 100,000th woman and child. Your father's legacy has touched 6 figures worth of lives. Thought you'd want to know." She looked at the photo on her desk, her father in his janitor's uniform, holding infant Maya, both of them laughing at something long forgotten. "We did it, Daddy," she whispered. "We showed them what real wealth looks like. Not the money, the lives, the second chances, the proof that people can survive betrayal and come out stronger. The proof that your daughter was never poor, never alone, never powerless, just like you promised." From upstairs, she heard Naomi laughing at something on her phone, probably texting with friends, living the normal preteen life Maya had worked so hard to give her, despite the billions in trust funds and the complicated family history. And Maya smiled. Because this ordinary evening in an extraordinary life, built from the ashes of the worst betrayal she'd ever known, this was the real revenge. Not that Marcus had suffered, though he had. Not that Vanessa had faced consequences, though she had. But that Maya had taken her father's final gift and turned it into something that outlived all of them. A foundation that would help women and children for generations. A daughter who knew her worth had nothing to do with her bank account. A life so full of purpose and meaning that the people who'd tried to destroy her had become footnotes in a much larger story. The story of a woman who inherited $5 billion and used it to prove that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's becoming so powerful, so purposeful, so whole that your enemy's opinions become irrelevant, their regrets become their own prison, and their attempts to hurt you become the very thing that launches you into your destiny. Marcus and Vanessa had tried to take everything from her. Instead, they'd given her the freedom to become who she was always meant to be. And that was the greatest victory of all. Final emotional CTA. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. Have you ever given someone a second chance they didn't deserve and watched them actually change? Or have you ever been the person who needed that second chance, who needed someone to believe you could be better? Drop your story in the comments right now. Because Maya's story proves that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let people prove they've changed, not because they've earned it, but because you're strong enough to hold boundaries while giving grace. And here's the bigger question. If you were Maya, could you have done it? Could you have let Marcus back into your daughter's life after everything he did? Be honest. Tell me in the comments. Would you have shown mercy, or would you have kept that door closed forever? There's no wrong answer. I just want to hear your truth. Now, where are you watching this from? And more importantly, did you watch all 3 parts? Drop your location and which part hit you the hardest in the comments. Are you in Lagos crying at 3 a.m.? In London watching this on your lunch break? In New York remembering your own story of betrayal and redemption? Tell me. Let's build a community of people who believe that hurt people don't have to stay hurt people. If you watched all 3 parts of Maya's story and you're sitting there with tears streaming down your face, understanding that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, that boundaries can coexist with grace, that real wealth is measured in lives changed and not dollars earned, then you need to do 3 things right now. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, because I post stories like this every single week. Stories about karma, justice, redemption, and people who thought they'd lost everything, discovering they had everything they needed inside them all along. Second, smash that like button if you believe people can change when they do the actual work. Not just talk about it, not just apologize, but show up day after day, year after year, and prove it through actions. And third, this is important, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone going through a divorce, someone dealing with a difficult co-parenting situation, someone who's been betrayed and doesn't know if they'll ever heal, someone who made terrible mistakes and is trying to be better. Share it. Let them know they're not alone, because that's what Maya's father taught her and what she taught Naomi, and what I hope you'll take from this story. You are never alone. You are never defined by what others did to you. You are never powerless. You just might not know it yet. Thanks for watching all 3 parts. Thanks for going on this journey with Maya from her lowest moment to her greatest triumph. And remember, the people who underestimate you, who abandon you, who